screen is dark. Oh, now I see it. I see it.
Our center square, David Ladd.
Good evening, everyone. I am here for you in many ways.
Inman ways.
Okay, so we're not live on YouTube.
And there was much rejoicing.
Huh. Oh, now it says we're live. Hold on. Okay. All right. We are live. We're live on my iPhone. We're not live on my desktop. That's okay.
Restream chat. It's showing up. Yep. I see something on a restream chat. I see Tim Franklin chatting on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, I must be on the wrong link. Okay, there we are. It's doing that blurry thing again, but then it does clear up. Okay. Go on mute and we'll start the show.
And that's the end of the show.
CoCoTALK After Dark. CoCoTALK After Dark. CoCoTALK After Dark. CoCoTALK After Dark.
Wow.
We're live, everybody.
Yeah, somebody still got their sound on. I hear it coming through. Is anybody able to check to see if there's audio coming through on the live stream, or anybody watching live? Tell us if you can hear us.
I have to have system sound on, right, Stevie?
For people to hear the people talking, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
So ask them if they can hear us via sound. Yeah, that checks out.
Yep, I just checked on my cell phone. It's coming through.
All right.
It's not working here, but.
Want to play?
Let's go.
Yeah, I don't hear it on
No.
YouTube.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Testes 1, 2, 3. The hell's going on here?
Well, maybe the YouTube's got an issue. Who knows?
Somebody type in the chat then and say, Rob, can you type in the chat and ask somebody if they can hear us? Nobody's
Yes,
got a computer.
you should. Everyone should be able to hear fine. I just wanted to mute my desk computer so I could work off my iPad. So now everyone should be able to hear, and I can ask in the chat.
Can you hear me? Ken make it says yes, he can hear it.
Well, what a shame. We apologize.
Darn. So much for that.
On YouTube, they said they can't. Dave Philipstein said he can't hear it. I could on
Can you
Facebook.
hear me?
Okay, mine's working now, so I'm working on my phone.
So you guys gonna start the show?
Yeah. Come on, guys. I'm streaming. You guys are creating content.
What's the topic?
Desert or dessert?
Oh, that's interesting.
David Ladd's trying to come in.
So I don't know if anybody saw a little bit earlier, Sockmaster was actually, he was streaming on Twitch, his Spooky Donkey Kong, which I had never seen before. Apparently it's about a year old, I'm being told, but I had no idea he even did that.
So we should just restream his stream and comment on it.
Well, no, I'm
You can
not
do it
saying.
in like an MST3K.
Right.
Are we gonna announce the fact that we're doing a show right now? Like good evening, everybody, and welcome to CoCoTALk. Anybody gonna do anything like that, or are we just gonna sit here and look stupid all night?
Yes. Good
That
evening,
sounded good.
everyone. This is CoCoTALK After Dark. We're here to give you a fun evening. Let's get to it.
David,
right.
you're hired. David, you're hired. Rob, you're fired.
CoCoTALK After Dark. Woo!
Ow!
Baby, yes, we want the After Dark. Oh, wait, wrong topic.
Maybe you just need beverages.
So from what I hear, Nick Marotta was on fire today, huh?
Did someone put him out?
Oh, no, Nick was like, he was master comeback.
Tim Franklin's asking, did Sockmaster hit his monitor?
He did not. He was very well behaved.
He did not beat his monitor. Thanks for doing the show today, Rob Inman. Okay,
Well,
Dave
thank
Phillips
you.
is saying, YouTube is working.
Where are you at,
Absolutely.
Stevie?
I am in the comfort of my home.
Talking on his phone.
Yeah, I'm talking on my phone. My computer is in disarray right now. I started refurnituring my room in this. Had a big old case of F-it for tonight.
Steve, you have that happen quite a bit, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Inspirational speaker Stevie Stroh.
That's right. I ran out of F's.
Well, let's introduce the
That's
exciting. Sorry, Jason.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a bad joke anyway.
All right, I stepped all over you. In on the panel is Tom C. from Jersey, who forced us to do this tonight. Tom, how are you?
I don't know.
Don't blame this train wreck on Tom.
I don't know how you keep pinning that on me.
Yeah.
But whatever. You know what? You know what? In all fairness, I'll take responsibility for it. No problem. I'll take one for the team.
You've heard it here first. Direct all complaints to Tom C., courtesy of the state of New Jersey.
And Tom, you were not on the panel or in the live chat today's show. So what have you been up to this weekend, and what do you got going on in the world?
I was actually just recently. I started acquiring a lot of surface mount components and whatnot to start doing repairs for, believe it or not, of all things, arcade circuit boards for arcade games. And that's what I was doing this afternoon. I was actually repairing some boards. So while you guys were on, that's pretty much what I was doing. Having fun. Very good. Very good.
Speaking of repairing, Tom, did you send me those links for Amazon for me to get my solder stuff?
Well, I was going to. I was in the middle of doing it, and I wanted to bounce a few things off of you. But okay. I mean, I could send you the link for the solder. That's not a problem.
Sure. Okay.
But the soldering iron, I need to discuss that a little further with you.
Okay. I stole Rob's thunder. I apologize.
Not at all. No thunder here. But while we're talking about excuses for not being on the show, the man who most of us know as the usual host, Stevie Stroh, where were you today, and what have you been doing in the world of retro? I think we know a little bit about what you've been doing, but what would you like to share with the audience tonight?
Well, I've been doing real world work, and which kind of sucks, but it occupied Friday night and pretty much all of Saturday. Prior to that, I did start a new project on the Coco VJ that I'm pretty excited about. I wanted to have a teaser to show you guys on the show today, but I just ran out of time. So I'll continue to work on that, and hopefully we'll have a very cool playable demo by next weekend. So the little showcase we did earlier in the week, where I was kind of going over the game that Morgan Donahue made, kind of really inspired me to want to do something. So I'm doing something, and it's a new project. It's something new and exciting for me.
Bringing color to the color computer.
Color,
like it.
Yes.
Yes, color.
How long have you had Coco VGA, Stevie?
I got it at Coco Fest this year, so I got it around May, but I have not had that particular Coco set up almost since then because my office was in disarray. I'm trying to get my office back in array.
Well, who's always in array is Terry Steggy. How are you, Terry? Where have you been, and what are you doing here?
Hey guys, how's it going? Let's see. I had a birthday party for my daughter today, so I couldn't be on the show. But I've had a pretty productive week as far as, unfortunately, buying things. I got 2 more TDP cartridges that I'll show next Saturday on CoCoTALK, and then I got something I did not know existed: TDP floppy drives.
Oh wow!
They were in a set basically that I got, and hoping to have those here. I think they're supposed to be delivered Tuesday, so I'm really excited to see what those look like.
So would I.
What else?
I'm starting to get concerned, Terry. Like if there's a brand of heroin called TDP, you might just inject that.
It's where I wear long sleeves.
All right.
And then the only other thing, not terribly Coco related, was I was given a Apple II GS this week that
wow.
is everything. It's got the printer, the color monitor, drives, actually even has an extra laser drive, which I'm going to move over to my laser 128 that I have. So I was kind of happy about that.
Good for you.
Well, great. Nick Morentes, what time is it down under? Crickets?
Crikey.
I believe it's next Tuesday.
It's 1 p.m. Yeah. Sorry, guys, just fell asleep.
Well,
I was going to say down under, it's always the crack of noon.
And we did get a preview from Nick today on Gunstar and what might be coming up, including difficulty levels, which is very good for most of the people on this panel.
Yeah, I heard about the wimpy level.
That's it. Wimp.
Wimpy.
To pronounce it the right way, Gunstar.
Jason, the Coco Man, is next on my list. Jason, who is randomly shipping me things I order from other people. How are you? How are you doing? And thank you for shipping me the thing that I ordered.
Oh, hey, I had what was needed and I sent it where it needed to go. So no big deal there. It's whatever. It is what it is. Just finishing up the tour of theme parks this weekend, and it'll be it for theme park season. And then I'll be back onto some projects, and I have something coming up in the next few weeks. I'll be ready to talk about it, and I'll just say it involves toggle switches.
Toggle switches.
You have a product that involves toggle switches?
I know, right? It's just
Say it isn't so.
It's totally unlike me.
Yes, indeed.
And it'll have an Australian sounding name. It's totally out of character for me.
Yeah, it's a stretch, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's very on brand. Speaking of on brand, a man who knows a lot about the Tandy color computer, and we have double New Jersey in the house tonight. Al Hartman. Al's here.
Heyo, heyo.
How are you doing?
Oh, having a fun week.
Is that are you being sarcastic, or are you really
Yes,
having fun?
I'm being sarcastic.
Well, hopefully,
I took a fall a couple days ago, and we had to call EMS.
Oh no,
So that wasn't fun.
Are you back up?
Yeah, I'm back up.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I didn't want to go to the hospital. They just helped me get out of a bad situation, but did fix a Mac Mini this week. And I'm waiting for the rest of the parts. I have 2 more to be fixed. So I got to figure out how to. Well, the thing with Mac Minis, I bought these on eBay to try to play around with. Now I can't think of what it's called. It's a operating system that runs on the Mac Minis that is not Mac OS, and it resembles Amiga OS. MorphOS, that's what it's called.
MorphOS, that's it.
Interesting.
And but I'm not paying $100 to buy it. So it runs for 20 minutes, and then it slows down to a crawl. So you either have to reboot the system or shut it down. But
they have a good website, MorphOS. We're looking at doing something like that for Nitrous 9.
Yep, it's an interesting operating system, and it runs well. I just think they should dump the price a bit, because it just doesn't. Most people are not going to use it as their main operating system.
Yeah, what can you do with an offshoot OS on a Mac?
Web browse. There's word processors. It runs Amiga software.
Oh, it actually does.
Yeah, transparently, the 68,000 software.
Okay, so it's got emulation built in.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was trying to figure where there's got to be a purpose other than it being just an obscure OS. Okay, so it's an emulation OS.
Yep. So I bought a parts Mac Mini for $12 plus shipping.
Wow.
To rate it for parts to fix the other 2. And I swapped the chassis that has the hard drive and CD-ROM from one of the other ones just for kicks and giggles, and it worked. So I call that one fixed and put it back together with the tray from one of the other Mac Minis. And what happened was, when I bought these, they worked. I loaded MorphOS on them, and I played with them, and they worked fine. And then I said, well, I'm not spending $100 for MorphOS. So I loaded them back up with Mac OS, and then they started, the fans would run, and then they would shut down. And it was probably bad heatsink paste. So I popped the heatsink and replaced the paste, but then they would still do that. And it turns out you have to, if you take the motherboard off the bottom of the unit, you have to replace the thermal pad, which I didn't know because I didn't have the service manual.
And what's the end goal? Are you gonna sell these units, or you?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably resell them. Keep the fastest one, which is a 1.44 gigahertz, and I have a 1.25 and a 1.33.
Okay. Well, we'll skip to and come back to you and talk to the rest of the panel here. I think I skipped over John Laurie.
Okay.
John, you were in and out today on the regular show.
Yeah.
Did you get some dinner? What happened since then?
Not a whole lot. I'm just about ready to go back to work here. I've been off work for about 2 months now for medical reasons. But I'm ready to go back. I've actually been ready to go back for a while, but the doctor said at least 6 weeks, and it's been 6 weeks since I got discharged. So
Okay.
I'm ready to go back to work, and kind of, a friend texted me today, and she said, "Are you excited?" I was like, "For what?" And she said, "About going back to work." I said, "Well, I'm like ready. I'm kind of bored and ready to go back to work, but I don't want to get crazy and use words like excited." But
Well, it sounds like you're on the mend. That's the most important part.
yeah, definitely. I'm feeling fine now, and I'm ready to get back to work just to get some normalcy back in my life, because it's kind of weird having 2 months of vacation time essentially.
Well,
You're
glad
living
you're
like a
feeling.
European.
Yeah, I had to move to France.
Yeah.
Glad that you're feeling better. And Al Hartman's back up on his feet. We've got David Ladd in the room.
Literally back up on my feet.
Yeah, literally back up on your feet. And David, how are you doing? Are you just as excited as I am?
Oh, I can't wait, sir. How are you doing?
Good, fantastic. Chet Simpson is here again. He can't quit us. He's back for more.
That sounds like a Brokeback quote right there.
That's right. You see what I did there.
I can't quit you.
Yes. Chet's always taking those fishing trips.
Yeah, keep clicking.
Chet, I assume you're plugging away there at your code all day?
Yeah, I decided to make some updates this afternoon after we got off of the show and get some of the stuff cleaned up from what I've been doing the last couple of days. And now I'm just going over some of that and eating a BLT.
Very good. And can't see who's in the live chat because of my setup here. Can somebody tell us who's in the live chat? Anybody want to take that on? Maybe Jason Reichert type?
I could do that.
Or yeah, Tom.
Yeah,
Actually,
so far we've had
step up here.
Yeah, we've had Tim Franklin in the chat. Matchy's been in the chat. Terry Staggy. Ken make it. It's been here. John Laurie's been here. Let's see. Dave Phillipson's been here. And going down the list, Nick Marota's been here. Michael Newman has been here. I don't think I've ever seen that name before.
But that's Mikey.
Oh,
Michael
okay.
Newman's Mikey.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Matchy's out there. Matchy says, I'm looking forward to the Coco VJ. So I hope to have something to show up next week, Matchy.
Yeah.
Tim Franklin saying Paul just posted an update to his Oregon Trail, FYI. Short clip showing the animations. Looks cool. Explore VR, Ben Drake says, yo, I'm here too. Hey, Ben. Yeah, this is a real makeshift show today. Nobody's on any ball at this point.
Oh, well, I think we had a lot to talk about earlier today, and no L. Curtis, no Mark O, no superstars on the panel tonight. All we've got is Nick Marentes.
Yeah, this
so I
isn't
guess
even
we'll
the
have
B
to deal.
team. This is the C team at this point. Huh?
I thought this was
I got
technical
your C
test.
team.
I thought this was a test show. We're streaming this.
Unfortunately, yes.
Well, it doesn't have to be a real show.
The legacy. The legacy ends tonight.
The lost show.
It's been a while since there's been an After Dark, so I guess consider it shaking off the rust, I guess.
That's it. Yeah, shake the tree, see what comes out.
We've got David Ladd. What more could we need?
Speaking of David Ladd, you've got other projects for other computers. We could talk about other platforms, Commodore and Apple.
I have an acquisition, actually. I have a new acquisition.
All right.
Let Stevie go, and
If I-
then we'll come to me.
If I may be so bold, and I'm not turning on the camera because it's very dark in my house right now. But I was gifted from a friend a Commodore Mini. So it arrived in the mail. I was completely unexpected, and I've taken it out of the box. I have not plugged it in or looked at it yet, but I do look forward to checking it out. It looks pretty cool.
Now I know Commodore fairly well. I don't know what a Commodore Mini is.
Commodore
you-
64 Mini. It's kind of like the NES, the Mini NES.
Oh!
Mini
You didn't say the
C64.
64. I thought you were talking
Sorry.
about something that was retro. You were talking about the new.
Yeah, the
micro.
Commodore 64 Mini clone thing. You know.
Yeah, Stevie, keep an eye on the Commodore Mini website because they've been releasing fairly frequent updates to it.
Okay.
Did I see somewhere too that they're gonna release a full size version too at some point with a working keyboard?
In December, it'll have a full-size keyboard. It'll not only be a scaled-up Mac Mini, but it'll also emulate a VIC-20.
Okay, yeah, I thought I saw that, but I wasn't sure. Well, yeah. Thanks for verifying that, by the way.
C65 coming as well.
That's not
Yes.
that's not the David Murray thing, is it?
No,
No.
no, it's a remake of the Commodore 65.
Oh, I didn't even
The
know there
real
was a
one.
C65.
Yeah, there was. You could buy one on eBay for $25,000.
Oh,
It's
let me
very
just get out
rare.
my checkbook.
It's a very rare model that never came out officially, and there's someone's actually rebuilding them and making a remake of it.
Interesting.
What's different about that one though than a C64?
Big difference. It's almost an Amiga.
Oh, okay, so it's got a bigger processor, more RAM, blah blah blah, so on
I
and so
don't know
forth.
about the processor, but it's got more, more RAM, more colors, more res. Yeah,
Okay, but it's still
Built-in 3.5-inch
I
hard
think
drive.
it's called the Meg. What's it called? The Mega 64 or something? I'll just look it up.
so all right. So but it's still an 8-bit machine.
I think so. Yes.
Okay.
Mega 64. Yeah, if you look that up. Actually,
Yeah,
there's a YouTube video about it.
the project that David Murray's working on is it's called Commander 16.
Commander X16. He added the X so it wouldn't be.
Yeah, that's
that's
something
right.
entirely different.
Okay.
Yeah, he added the X so it wouldn't be abbreviated C16 and therefore confused with the Commodore 16. So he wanted it to
see.
sound like a Commodore, but not be confused with the actual model.
Plus, that logo that they came up with that looks like a butterfly is kind of a neat idea.
Yeah, that
You
was
talking about?
Perry Fractic
Yep.
that came up with that graphic. I don't know if you guys know who Perry Fractic is.
No.
Yep.
He's got a great YouTube channel. He's kind of, Commodore 64 was his first love type thing, kind of like David Murray. But he's got some older Apple models, some Atari models as well. And so he's kind of into retro anything for the most part. But he's done some odd stuff. He did a Lego Commodore 64, and he's done some
Yeah, he made a Lego keyboard.
refurbished various models, and it's done some.
You know the
retro
best part about a Lego C64?
What's that?
Being able to walk on it barefoot.
Yeah, his name is Chris Simpson,
Yeah, Chris.
and he's also a musician. And I'm one of his Patreon supporters.
Yeah, I love his channel. I watch every one of his videos.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
they're-
watched his latest one today.
They're
don't know if I
very
know
well
this person.
produced, and they're put together really well. All of his videos are really well done.
What's the name of the channel?
Parafractic or Retro Recipes is the name of the.
Oh, you're talking about and he's got that chick on there.
Well, his wife, yeah.
Well, which
Yeah.
one? Well, no, actually, he used to have a girl that worked at Walmart named Ashley.
Yeah, she's going to be back on soon. She and his wife are going to do a spy versus spy game playoff a la Stevie Strobridge.
Lady Fractic is the missus.
That's right.
And yeah, she's been a big part of his channel lately.
They just did a video of a Commodore 64 versus a Mac, which was faster to load and print a document. And she was operating the computers, and it was the most viewed podcast on his channel.
Yeah,
he does.
he's got a great channel. I love watching his videos. I like really well produced YouTube channels, and that's definitely one of them.
Well, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Well, we do have Retro Recipes do an actual live show, and we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah,
a
that's
little bit
true.
harder. But yeah, he does a good job.
He puts a lot of comedy in it, and you know, he's got his dog as part of the channel, and his wife,
And he's British, so he's
yeah,
know,
he sounds smarter.
yes,
Just naturally.
I posted his April Fool's thing this year, where he was pretending there was what Stevie just talked about, the Commodore 64 Mini. He pretended there was a Commodore 16 Mini.
I think.
Yep, he does.
Must have missed that one. I'll have to go look
He
it up.
definitely inserts humor.
Yeah, he puts a lot of humor into
Humor. He's British. It's humor.
Yes, it is
A
spelled
little bit of
with a U.
colorful humor.
Whenever he needed like a retro part to refurbish a machine, he'd go to Walmart, and he'd always find this girl Ashley, and he'd ask her for the part, and she would always come back with a really funny reply about not having it at Walmart. And she got so popular in the show that even though she doesn't work at Walmart anymore, he has her on the show.
Yeah,
he's pretty smart.
Curtis
he's
is asking if there's a topic tonight. Should we tell him we're the OS 9 expose?
Yes, I was afraid to tell him. The topic is the end of OS 9. It's being sunsetted. But yeah, the Retro Recipes guy is smart to have some female content. He's somebody who's actually met a few women. It sounds like, which is rare in this community.
Yeah, how do you do that?
I don't know. But Curtis, feel free to join the panel. You're always welcome. We've got another comment. Got a C64 with 1541 hard drive and monitor recently from Mandelia 420, who was on the show earlier today.
420 rules.
Curtis says, not if I have anything to say about it for the end of OS 9. Of course, we know hashtag OS 9 forever. And you know that if you put in a hashtag, it's true.
That's right. Nick Marionette's favorite operating system.
Absolutely. So Curtis is going to join in a little bit, and I'm working on, actually, since we're talking about OS 9, I'm working on the icon for Biosphere, which is a OS 9 level 1 game that actually I did purchase, and I forget a lot about the level 1 games, even the ones I own, because once I got a Coco 3 in probably early '87, I couldn't display any artifact colors, so I just stopped playing all of the games, and yeah, there was just no colors on the screen anymore. Therefore, I just stopped playing them. So I don't even remember, to go back and look at Biosphere was kind of cool, along with some of these other games. Of course, now that I have a switcheroo, I can see all those colors with a flip of a switch.
The flip of a switch.
And I did not have that option back then, because Tandy made a brilliant decision not to include composite in the CM8. So that was really smart.
It wouldn't have been an RGB monitor if they'd done that.
I don't know. Somehow Magnavox figured it out. So, and didn't Magnavox make a lot of the Tandy monitors? So I don't know how that
probably was a Magnavox monitor.
Yeah, so freaking Magnavox had which didn't look as good. So I wanted the CM8
I think it would have cost an extra 14 cents, and they weren't up for it.
Is there like a composite hack for the CM8?
No.
No. No, you'd have to use some kind of switcheroo, or you'd have to. Well, now you'd get artifact colors using a Gimme X, which has a standard port that would go to a CM8. So you can get colors now.
No,
You don't need.
no, it doesn't. It has a VGA output.
I thought it had a regular.
No,
I think it's
output
no.
as
still
well.
it's not going to output to the RGB on the bottom of the Coco 3. That'd be silly.
No, it's not.
Maybe
It's going to have its own VGA and S video outputs.
I could swear I saw a connector on there for a regular monitor, but
That's the old
I'm
one.
okay.
Oh, the spec has changed, huh?
I think what Nick is saying is, let me tell you why you're wrong.
Hashtag why you are wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, because some people do have CM8s, that we can figure out a way to get artifact colors.
You can always leave it on just to warm your feet in the winter. It does generate a lot of heat,
That's right.
much like this panel.
Well, they all can't be winners, Stevie. Ken Reichert is saying he is alluringly the deal. Pray he doesn't.
He's altering the deal. Pray, that's a line from Empire Strikes Back where Darth Vader's talking to Lando. So come on, get your movie quotes.
Oh my
straight,
goodness!
It's on the
God, you can
Cloud
speak.
City of Bespin. He's talking to Lando Calrissian about altering the deal. Come on, man.
Oh my God, what a nerd!
If anyone's seen the latest or the last trailer before the movie comes out, Lando's gonna be in the next movie.
Oh, you talking about Billy D. Williams, the actual original Lando actor?
Yep.
Okay, so he's playing an old Lando. He's playing an age-appropriate Lando.
Age appropriate Lando. Yeah.
Okay. So that would actually be pretty cool.
Yeah. I actually liked that that young Han Solo movie. It was pretty good. It was okay.
It was entertainment.
Yeah.
Who was the
Not canon as far as I'm concerned.
The Rogue One surprised me. Wasn't that the previous standalone movie?
Yes. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, that's the best one since the original trilogy.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I
totally
felt
agree.
the same way.
The prequels were shite.
That scene where towards the end of the movie when it kind of meshes into the episode 4, that scene where Darth Vader comes in and has that lightsaber battle with a bunch of guys in that
that was hardcore. Hey,
that
no
was
spoilers. It's only been out 4 years. Some people might not have seen it yet.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, too bad. But yeah, that scene was just absolutely the best. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here. Quit talking about this frivolous stuff. Let's start talking OS9.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you heard of like the supposedly preferred order in which to watch the shows where they mix the new ones and the old ones? And there's like a couple different people have come up with these perfect orders to watch all 6 of the movies, which usually includes skipping episode 1 completely. But you guys know what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah, I guess it depends if you go down that road as to whether or not you watch the prequels, because some people are just sort of a certain hardcore group of people who just shun the prequels completely. I mean, they kind of sucked, yeah, but I mean, they're kind of part of the story, and there were parts to them that I thought were okay, but
Well,
a lot of
what it was is I think what if I remember the short version of the story is because most people say if you've never, some people don't see how Luke could even be tempted by the Emperor. Like by the time you get to the episode 6, everybody's like, "There's no way Luke would fall for this crap," right? But they're like, "Well, if you watch one of the other ones before you watch episode 6, and you can see how Anakin got tempted, then maybe it helps you believe that Luke could have possibly been tempted or some crap like that." But to me, it's a lame excuse to try to crowbar these crappy movies in between the classics. And as far as concerned, prequels are all shite. So
yeah, the prequels, especially the first 2, were real like storyline politics heavy. I was like,
Yeah.
oh come on, really? There was just way too much information about that. The trade deals and all that other crap that was going on. There was just way too much of that going on in the first two prequels.
Oh, Nick Marotta says it's called the Machete Order. Okay. Yeah, there's supposedly like this whole thing where somebody came up with this suggested way in which to watch the shows, and there was some logic behind it when it was explained to me, but I didn't buy it. So
I would say watch them in the order they were released, because it's
yeah,
an epic story and to be told in that fashion, it starts in the middle and then goes back to the beginning at one point and then jumps towards the end. That's a specific way of telling a story, and that would be so watching them in the way that they were released would be the way to watch it, with maybe the exception of throw Rogue One in before, after episode 3 and before episode 4, because Rogue
Yeah,
One
I've
is
always,
essentially episode 3.5.
yeah.
I will stop at 6. I won't watch the other ones. I absolutely hated anything Disney's done, but I
I
love Rogue
agree.
Well, welcome to Star Wars Talk, everybody. May the force be with you always.
And
Now let's
Ken
talk about a
Reichert-
better series like Star Trek.
Yes.
Oh, Christ.
Ken Reichert is saying Misa thinks prequels were great.
Misa.
Yes.
That was the worst part of the prequels, was Jar Jar Binks.
I gotta
Poor
say that
Jar Jar.
when episode 1 first came out, I probably saw it in the theater like 5 times, just because we had not had a Star Wars movie in so long, and I was such a huge fan. I just wanted to soak in as much as I could. But
Sorry,
wait for your phone call.
we gotta wait for
Don't
this
mind
phone
us.
call here.
Yeah. Oh, don't mind us. We'll
My
wait.
brother was saying that after he saw episode 1, he's like, it was like watching an episode of the Muppets. It was that campy and silly, and
Well, not only that,
That's-
I think it was so CGI heavy.
yeah.
You had entire scenes where there was not a single human being. Like you had the big battle of the CGI salamanders versus the CGI robots. It's like, and I gave zero shits about that entire scene, because it's like you're not invested. At least like in the opening scene of like episode 4, you have the rebels lining up, waiting to see who's going to bust in. You got the sparks flying, lasers flying. You got human beings acting out the part of getting killed. It was a little bit more dramatic than a bunch of computer animation,
Yeah. I think they relied too heavily on the well, and he even went back and CGI'd up the originals too a bit, and in such a way that was like, it was obvious. It's like, well, okay, they couldn't do that in 1977, so I know that was added.
Richard Lorbieski says the problem is if you watch them in order, The Empire Strikes Back becomes kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, because the spoiler it's not a spoiler anymore, right? So.
And Amigos Retro Gaming is saying I'm all
to Babylon
about Star
5.
Trek.
You said
Star
stick
Trek,
to
the
Babylon
original
5.
series.
That was like the greatest spoiler of all time. That was the one genius thing that he did, was to make the bad guy the father of the good guy.
And almost make it a cliffhanger that you had to wait 2 years to, 2 to 3 years for the next one.
For the next installment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of YouTube videos where like youngsters that that are watching the movies now for the first time, that scene where that big epic moment when
I am
Darth
your
Vader
father.
reveals. Yeah.
Well, Curtis Boyle has made some bold statements in the chat, so I think we should hear from you, Curtis, and why Star Trek is better.
Because it's actually science fiction instead of space opera. It doesn't deal with hokey crap.
Who gives a shit?
I like
Actually, what we should be talking about is 2001: A Space Odyssey, the ultimate science fiction film.
Oh,
And
yeah,
Chet would like it because it's really good to watch on acid.
What about Plan 9 from Outer Space? Wasn't that a good?
Oh, that was an awesome movie. That right there is the pinnacle of everything.
Yeah,
That is
that's like
fantastic.
watching Eraserhead when you're stoned. I think that one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
There's a pretty famous college nearby called Oberlin College. You guys probably heard of it. I live about, that's a 10-minute drive from Oberlin College. And many moons ago, when I was 18 years old, my buddy said, "Hey, they've got the four of the worst movies of all time. It costs $1 to get in. If we sit through all 4 movies, we get our $1 back. You get a quarter back for each movie that you sit through." Plan 9 from Outer Space was one of the 4.
I'd be sitting there all day getting quarters, man. I'd be heading to the arcade
All
afterwards.
right.
Oh yeah, we sat through all 4. I needed a cigarette. I needed
Oh,
cigarette money.
speaking of Star Trek and red shirts, so my oldest daughter is getting a seasonal job at Target now, so she's gonna be working through Christmas. They don't even provide shirts, so she's got to buy her own shirts. And so I said to her, and because she's 18, she's not going to get it. I go, "Do you know what happens to people who wear red shirts on an away team?" And it just flew right over her head. So
That's funny.
yeah.
Yeah. Plan 9 from Outer Space. They saved Hitler's brain. Attack of the Bee Ladies, and Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which was actually of the
That's
4
an awesome
movies.
show.
It was it actually had a plot that you could kind of follow.
Tomatoes. There's a great theme song to it as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. Of the 4 movies, it was the one worth following. Plan 9
Now,
from Outer Space, didn't Bela Lugosi keel over like halfway through the movie?
yeah, he watched some of the dailies. Yeah, so
And does Toxic Avenger, does that qualify as science fiction? I'm not sure.
yeah. What was the other one I was going to say? Crikey, it slipped my mind.
Crikey.
Yeah. Flash Gordon 1980 was the best. Richard Lorbiewski says, "Flash."
It was.
Oh, I thought he said Flesh Gordon. I was actually agreeing with him up until that point.
You know what's weird is for many, many years, the movie Papillon, I used to say to myself, was my favorite movie of all times. It's a great movie. And then years later, a few years ago, I was watching some stuff about Flash Gordon, the 1980 movie. And I'm like, you know what? That could quite possibly be my favorite movie of all time as well. And what's amazing is both movies were written by the same guy. As different of type of movies those movies are, they were written by the same guy. And if you have never seen the sequence from the Ted 2 movie, the little bear that talks,
Okay.
there's a sequence in there where they actually got the actor from Flash Gordon because he's like their hero. And
Okay.
it's the funniest part of the movie.
Okay. Don't spoil it for me. I'm going to watch it now.
Well, I do have some questions about OS9 for you, Curtis.
Okay.
There's no real segue, but in terms of, you mentioned today, somebody dared to ask you, well, I think they were innocently asking a new member of the community, if I go onto Nitrous 9, can I launch my non-OS9 games? Of course, most of us would just say no, but you mentioned there was an actual launcher tool that has been lost to time.
Might not be. Alan DeCock's the one who wrote it. It was called Rusty. Because Disk Basic is RS-DOS. That's where the Rust, and the fact that it's old, nobody really used it back in the 90s, so it was called Rusty. But it would launch basically only single apps. You couldn't do something that had required multiple disks and loaded multiple programs. So to launch any single binary game program or whatever you wanted to do, and it would just launch it from the hard drive image or whatever you're running on under OS9, and then just kick it into RS-DOS and run it. And you wouldn't return to OS9 when you were done. It would basically kill OS9 to do it. It became a launcher. But he did have it, and he's actually going to be hunting down for some of his source disks for like level 3 and a few other things too. And he's going to send it to me by mail, hopefully in the next few weeks. So if he's got the source on there, I will be reassembling it and then re-releasing it.
Is he sending to you by postal mail or electronic mail?
I think postal because he doesn't have a Coco anymore, and he's only got it
Oh,
on
it's like
actual
on
floppies.
floppies.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
3.5 if I
That's
remember,
pretty.
which thankfully I still
That's
have in my Coco. So
that's pretty retro. I respect that.
Yeah. And I look at it as a convenience. You know, if I'm doing some stuff in OS9, multiple Windows, and I decide, yeah, I want to play Popstar Pilot. You know, I could conceivably just click on it, and then I'm in Popstar Pilot, right?
Popstar would not work because that's a multi-file load.
Okay.
Be a single bin.
Yeah, this doesn't this doesn't launch RS-DOS and then just creates a disk extended basic prompt or command at the prompt or anything. It actually loads the binary file from your OS9 drive and then executes it directly.
Okay, but you'd have simpler games, I guess.
Yeah, well, basically almost all the Coco 1 and 2 games would work, or anything that made a monster load that I can actually load all of it in RAM and just run from there, then it would work.
And you could just have all your icons for those games in a folder for RS-DOS, and you just click on them.
Yeah.
Boom.
Ease of use.
Hey, Rob, while you're working on icons, can you just make one of the toilet? And that would be how we'd actually launch OS9 to begin with.
Actually, I was thinking that'd be a perfect icon for launching CoCoTALK.
So what is your first name John, Curtis?
Yeah, and then I can actually make a flushing sound. You can use it the play command. You can launch the whole thing, so that'd be good.
Yeah. I think we already have a core dump segment. I don't think we need that.
That's true. We have that sound effect already.
Where's Grant? We need a dump on the air.
Yeah, Grant stayed so long I didn't even get to introduce him. But he has to be back at the at Bellevue before lights out.
Also, I don't know if you guys have been on Facebook the last half an hour or so, but a couple new videos got released. Jim Gary did his Acalibeth port to Disk Basic instead of MC10. So that's working. And then Paul Shoemaker just released a new video with his update to Oregon Trail.
Yeah, that's what Tim Franklin was telling us about a little while ago.
Oh, okay. Must have been before I got back.
But I haven't seen it. I'm sitting here looking at you guys on my phone. My computer's offline. So.
Is that something you want to pull up, Curtis? Those two videos?
Oh, Curtis.
I could, or I could save it for next week's news. Your choice.
Oh.
Yeah, probably save it for next week.
All right.
Let's not try to get too serious tonight.
So Ken Reichert says, if it kills OS9, why not just start it in the first place? Okay.
Yeah, because hit and reset is too difficult.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you have to hit Control Alt Reset, so that's a lot more complicated.
Oh yeah. God.
Yeah.
I think Alan, if I remember correctly, he created it at the time because he basically lived in OS9. He had an auto boot ROM and went straight in OS9. You didn't have to type DOS or anything; it was just instantly in. And that way, you could occasionally play Sailor Man or Donkey King or whatever when you wanted to.
Yeah, he swapped his ROM out long ago.
Yeah.
And you can make improvements to it if you have actual code.
Well, that's where the MAME debugger comes in handy because you can actually watch the code running and kind of figure it out too. So,
well, if you need something to expand a RS-DOS file into memory, that's actually pretty easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the big loaders use that. Your stuff does it. Some Sockmaster stuff does it.
Yeah.
You fall asleep there, Nick, or are you just heavy breathing because you're so turned on by the OS9 talk?
Hang on. Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. You secretly like it, don't you?
No, I was looking elsewhere actually.
David's floppy became a hard drive.
Yeah. Your heavy breathing gave you away. Sorry.
Visions of new trash can icons.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I put other icons we need in the list, Nick. If you get inspired, just click on the Excel sheet I posted.
What
sounds like in Discord? I put a Google sheet with a whole bunch of new icons. You know what? One of the icons doesn't Chet and why am I blanking? Aren't there some games that they did for OS 9? Gold Runner?
Not for OS 9.
Oh,
Eric did. He did it for OS 9 68K.
oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
that's what I'm
he
thinking.
did it
Yeah,
for
Gold
the
Runner you're talking about? Because he had
yeah,
two.
Gold Runner.
He had the full Gold Runner scrolling like you did, and then he had the Gold Runner Classic, which was a resizable window, if I remember.
Right, and the I'm not sure if he ever released that one though.
I remember seeing it at the Coco Fest years and years back. I don't know if he was just showing it off or if it was released. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know he'd been showing up. I don't think I'm not sure he ever finished it. But Gold Runner 2000 he released. That was the full screen one. Just with the screen scrolling.
And didn't somebody do a Pong game where instead of scrolling the screen, your paddle stayed in the middle? Or yeah, there was some weird scrolling thing with it. I can't remember what it was now. I think your paddle stayed in the middle instead of you moving the paddle, the whole screen moved back and forth or something.
I don't know. That drive me nuts.
Yeah, I would think so too.
And Stevie, I must say the video that Paul Shoemaker put up actually has a dedication to you too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, then let's play it. It's obviously,
It's obviously of
you guys
great
got-
importance now.
You guys got great taste. Yeah. So,
Okay, I'll just switch my.
what's his face is sharing things. Curtis, I was just thinking myself too. I don't know.
Stop sharing.
I don't know if this made the news, but you and I helped the guy out on Discord get OS 9 and Rogue going this week.
No, that's not
Swinging?
news. That's not news. I wouldn't classify it as. But yeah, we did.
Well, it was a good little community get together.
It might be worth doing a community segment too. Like when new people come in, we can kind of just do a sort of a quick, rundown of where to find stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though we cater to a smaller and unhealthier portion of the community, we'll still try to help those misfits.
Hey! I take offense to that.
Well, you should. It was meant to be offensive.
Stevie.
Well, it is After Dark.
Yeah.
Oh, but Rob.
That's where the rest of us let our hair down, David, and you just stay the same.
That's his
Well,
scalp
I don't
shine.
have any hair to let down. But
There we go.
You guys ready for a little graphic demo by Mr. Paul Shoemaker?
Yes, please. Oh my.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Yeah, baby.
Oh.
We've got some.
I like the
oxen.
animation. Stevie has died of dysentery.
That was
awesome.
perfect.
Stevie.
That was. Hey, I'm gonna miss that guy.
Hey, I just wanted to show that. I thought it was funny. Sneak preview of the news for next week.
That's right.
It is kind of it's kind of inspirational, and you got a lot of people cranking away on projects right now. It's kind of got me off my ass to want to do something,
Yeah, I mean,
That's
you've been
right.
fiddling with the Coco VGA, right?
Yeah. It's been a two-step hardware project too, because I had it installed on my TDP 100 at Tandy Assembly, and we never thought to check anything because it already had a composite mod with composite out and audio out. Turns out that computer's got major issues playing audio. So I actually transplanted the Coco VGA myself from the TDP 100 to my white Coco 1, which was pretty straightforward. It's, the VDG was socketed, so it's not like I'm not patting myself on the back for being a hardware guy. But the fact that I was able to do it was kind of cool. And now I need to do a composite audio mod myself. So I've never used anything to do with soldering, but Brendan sent me the cable. Tom's going to tell me which solder I need to buy, and I'm actually going to be soldering on an audio jack in the near future to make a permanent Coco VGA PC, or Coco, I should say. So.
Cool.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm going to be doing something similar to that in the future too, Stevie, because thanks to Rob Inman, I'm going to be trying to install a Ed's newer model of the
NTSC.
Yeah, the RGB to S video / composite adapter.
Okay. You've got an even newer one. Is this like a third revision at this point?
No, that would be the second one.
Okay, so this is Gen 2.
Yeah, because but see, I don't want it external. So what I'm going to do is I got a panel mount S video connector and a panel mount RCA jack, which I think is pretty much what you're going to be using as a panel mount RCA jack for the back of the Coco.
But I'm not panel mounting it. I'm just going to feed it out through the channel 3 and 4 switch.
Okay.
I don't want to scar up this case, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But yeah, I'm going to mount the adapter itself underneath the keyboard someplace, and then I'm going to run the S video and the composite signals to the panel mounts on the back of the Coco 3. That way I'll still have the RGB port on the bottom untouched. I'll still have the composite port on the back untouched, and then I'll have the composite that is based off of the RGB and the S video coming out the top part of the case. So
cool.
And then the second thing that I got was I finally acquired the dual USB TTL serial adapter for the Mega Mini. So now my next task is to try to get with Michael whenever he comes out of hiding and
Michael Furman, Mikey.
Yes. Yeah. Try to get the drive wire stuff going with the serial ports on the Mega Mini.
You realize we got a TTL and a drive wire out of you, David.
Yep. We're halfway to perfection.
Oh, but Stevie, we haven't started talking about bit bangers yet.
Have we gone over the 8-port, the 4-port maximum?
Oh, come on. With all the cartridges I want, it's got to be the 16 slaughter from Ed or Jim. You know, I'm sorry. I got to have my real floppy, the SDC, the GMC, the PSG, the RST32, the modem pack.
He's just in acronym heaven, folks.
The PGA, the NBA,
the NHL, the PTA,
the LGBTQ.
Yes, you forgot the LGBTQ.
And a BLT, FYI.
Yeah, top it off. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good, David.
Is that why you laughed, Curtis?
Yes, that's exactly why I laughed. As soon as I heard the word TTL, I cracked up.
TTL drive.
Now, David, on that same line though, did you talk to Jim about helping him get the NoCan 3 driver disk copied over to disk image? So we have some 16550 stuff ready to go.
No, not yet, because, well, you know, life kind of gets in the way. So
that's why I haven't helped. Life's really gotten in the way. I haven't gotten into too many details with you guys. Nick knows what I'm talking about, but
yeah, because I still need to get with Jim to fix or help me fix the C64 I got. So yeah, it's
well, let's do important things first. I mean,
well, I am. That's the reason why I got to make
instead of worrying about obsolete computers. You know, that's
Hey.
Coco is the future.
That's right. I'm still waiting on that board, David. No news on the Ultimate 64.
That sucks. Yeah, the mouse adapter I still need. I've got.
Oh,
it was sitting here, but wherever the hell I put it, I've been resorting stuff over here on my desk. And now
I got another acquisition I forgot about.
Condoms?
Yeah, and I ordered some plastic styluses as a possible replacement for the Koala Pad. And those things came in this week too. I haven't had a chance to play with it because I'm literally right now my office is torn apart again because I got newer shelf thingies and I started it, and I was like, yeah, F it, I'm not doing it anymore tonight. But yeah, so hopefully tomorrow I have all that set up, and I'm going to try the pens out on the koala pad and see how well they do, because they were literally $1 on Amazon. So if they work, it's an option.
Yeah, if they work, it's something you can bring down to the fest too, as kind of a giveaway, or even sell them if you wanted to. It's just for a lot of people have koala pads, but the pens are long gone.
The koala pad's a resistive device, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just I hate resistive devices.
Yeah, well,
It's like
that was all the rave back in the day.
yeah. Well, when the smartphones first hit too, there was a lot of the budget smartphones of 2007, or would all have resistive touchscreens because it
Yeah,
was
wasn't
the way
the
Palm.
wasn't the Palm Pilot that?
I'm not.
I
it
think
may
Windows
have been.
CE, a lot of them were, from what I remember.
I know a lot of the one hung low versions on Amazon.
What the hell are you talking about here?
The Chinese ripoff ones.
Hey, come on now. We're not going down that road now. This is let's all show tolerance and the quality.
That's right. This is it's a family After Dark
This
show.
isn't the Rush Limbaugh show, okay?
Oh,
You mean we can't talk about cheap knockoffs on this show?
Oh, I'm a cheap knockoff.
Yeah.
I did have a Palm Pilot.
I think I still have my Palm around here someplace.
Sure you do, David.
I have an Apple Newton 100.
Yeah, that's a resistive device, I believe. You press down.
Yeah, it resisted becoming a standard.
most of the market resisted it, in fact.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why when Steve Jobs came back, that was one of the first things to get axed.
And trying to turn it into a laptop for education didn't work any better.
Speaking of,
it had its auto spelling incorrect, which was kind of cool too. So, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of peripherals, I am at my wit's end with the non-high-res mouse. Is Sockmaster? Did you say Sockmaster's software fix is going into ease of use beta 5?
I'm going to try it if it doesn't slow things down too much.
Okay, because I'm ready to buy a Steve Bjork adapter at this point.
Actually, save up for David's, because David's is digital. It works a lot better, a lot smoother.
Oh,
you still get some jittery on the high res. I mean, you get high res, resolution, but you get a little bit of jumping and jittering still, just because of the way the hardware is.
Can I plug my deluxe mouse into David's, or do I need?
David, you want to pick up that question?
Okay, well, here's the deal. Right now, the mouse adapter, as it stands, has a joystick pass-through, and it's the PS2 mouse, and you can select the input by the center mouse button on the mouse. Now, if you want the high-res joystick interface support, you have to plug the mouse adapter into the high-res joystick interface.
Jesus.
But because that's a digital mouse you're using, doesn't that get rid of a lot of the jitter? Or no?
No,
I don't remember seeing jitter on yours that I saw on the regular mouse.
Yes, that's just the nature of the high res stuff, because you're trying to go from, trying to catch the stuff right between all that stuff, and it's just,
But it doesn't jitter as much as the regular mouse in a regular high res interface, does it? Because when I remember trying it at the fest area, it seems smoother than
it's
a stock
better
mouse and a
than,
stock high res.
Right. If you've got the stock high res and you have this mouse adapter plugged into it with the PS2 mouse, and of course you don't go too cheap on the PS2 mouse, because I've been using the Microsoft business mice that Mark Overholzer found, and that combination is really nice. So far, that's what I've been using with ease of use when I had my Coco 3 set up on the desk, which it's back on the desk. I just need to finish the area. But yeah.
Okay. Carl Doherty needs to leave. Thank you for joining, Carl, earlier today, as well as for After Dark. Dave Phillipson is saying the jitter can be resolved in software. More work for Curtis. And
It can, but it takes extra CPU time to smooth it out. It's just like the high-res joystick interface takes longer to read. So if you move your joystick with the high-res plugged in or your mouse plugged in to the lower right corner where it has to sample all the way through, it actually takes a fair bit of CPU time. You can actually notice some other programs that are multitasking slow down, which is why Bill and I at work, we only use the low-res mouse. We never use the high-res mouse because it slowed down the printers too much.
Nope. Extra CPU time is coming. So, that might not be a problem.
I thought Jitter
well,
was
if you want to slow
brand of thought Jitter was a brand of phone for old people.
No, that's how old people walk. They jitter around a bit. So
now, just a side note, one of the things I found online was a project that a person was working on for converting a PS2 mouse into a serial mouse. You'd still need a power supply to power the adapter and the mouse, but that way for machines that use serial could use it. So if you already had existing serial drivers, those would alleviate a lot of those.
Well, the Nitrous Ryan serial drivers that Bruce Eisted originally did for the mouse running the RS-232 pack, those ran absolutely smooth. They took almost no CPU time. It was interrupt driven, so if you didn't move the mouse, it didn't take any CPU time at all. And if you did move it, it wasn't, it was trying to do all these samples going across. It was basically, it would just come back with a 3-byte packet saying the mouse moved right 120 pixels, moved down 54 pixels, and you hit the middle button or whatever. So it was instant. You got a 3-byte thing and an interrupt. It was beautiful. Didn't suck CPU time whatsoever pretty well.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that besides for compatibility with this basic programs that use the high res with a mouse, the current adapter that I'm working on will still be fine, but I'm thinking for those that have access to the deluxe RS-232 pack that don't plan on using it for any of the, modem projects that are going to be out there, serial mouse option might be
just how easy is it to find serial mice these days is my one question, I guess.
No, that's what I'm talking about, using the
using the adapter to go from a PS2.
Right.
Now Dave Phillipson has a question for you. Doesn't David's adapter use an Arduino? Couldn't you resolve the jitter in there? Like, couldn't it do the oversampling and stuff to strip the jitter? Now I think some of it's introduced by the high res interface. Is that correct?
As far as
some of it's on the original mouse side, some of it's on the high res. So if you do eliminate the jitter, it will improve it, but it won't totally eliminate it. Is that my understanding?
Right, because see, the thing is, when I was using an Arduino Micro in the place of the Arduino Nano, so that way I could see what was going on the PC at the same time I was tinkering with it on the Coco, there was no jitter on the PC because I was watching the joystick values. And if I left the mouse alone, where the Coco would see jitter, there was no jitter on the PC. So it's just the nature of the analog joystick port, if that signals right in that maybe here, maybe there area, you're just, it's, yeah.
So you could smooth them in software, like oversampling and then averaging and just picking the average or something, probably. You'd suck some CPU time doing so. Because I mean, like Color Max Deluxe, when I remember the one that Eric did the driver for that, I don't think it has any jitter either. Even with the high res version that Nick and Sockmaster did, I think it's pretty stable. But he's the only thing running, so he doesn't have to worry about, I'm sucking CPU cycles from another app.
Hey, let me interrupt real quick, because if I don't remember my question, I'll forget it forever. I'm going to try to test my Koala Pad tomorrow. What is a good Coco drawing program I could use, or you guys recommend? I've never really used any Coco drawing program.
Well, there's a bunch. I mean, Coco Max, Coco Deluxe.
Coco Max, you need the hack version to run without their high res interface, though.
Oh, that's right.
So was there one called Color Max or something like that? I just don't remember. So.
Yeah, Color Max Deluxe are Coco 3 only. They require the Tandy high res interface. If you have that, you could use it with that.
Yeah, there's not really any drawing
plug
software.
right into the joystick one. Was there any drawing software for the Coco 1 and 2?
Not
Coco
really.
Max. Yeah, I mean, Graphicom, if you can find it, that actually used two joysticks. So one would control this little square 64 by 64. You'd move around the screen, and the other joystick would draw within that at pixel precision.
Well,
So
wait a minute. You've got DeskMate for the Coco 1, 2, or the DeskMate 3 that has Paint. That's a simple drawing program you could test.
Does it? Yeah, I guess DeskMate might work. It's a rather crappy drawing program.
Well,
but
yeah,
it would work.
DeskMate for the
MV
Coco
Canvas is another one for the Coco 3 you could use.
It's a turd product from Tandy compared to the Tandy 1000 version, of course. But you can just fire up DeskMate, Stevie, and it's ease of use. You just type DOS and go into.
If it's
Paint.
not on the Coco STC, I don't have it. So
I thought the
It should be on there.
KoalaPad came with a
It's on there.
Koala Drawer application.
probably not for the Coco. And all I have is a Koala Pad. I don't have the retail package, so I need to find a piece of software that's on the Coco STC I could use to test my Koala Pad.
Well, the
DeskMate's on there.
the Coco KoalaPad plugs into the joystick port. That would work through a CocoMax adapter. I don't see why it wouldn't.
I don't think Stevie has a CocoMax adapter though.
I'm ordering Stevie to use.
I need to test this on a Coco 1 or 2.
Yes.
Well, CocoMax is a Coco 1 or 2 program, but they had the hardware cartridge that came with it to give you higher resolution.
Oh, okay. I don't have that.
Yeah.
Ian
Well,
Maverick
we-
is selling a reproduction of the CocoMax cartridge. It doesn't have a shell yet. I don't know if John Strong is working on one, but and then he includes a copy of the software with it.
Yeah, but I don't think Stevie wants to have to buy another piece of hardware to test see if the KoalaPad works. I think you just need something to test it quickly. So as far as stuff that does not need the extra hardware, Graphicom or Graphicom Part 2, if you can find it, I think those would work because they were designed without any extra hardware.
Wouldn't double back work with it?
Yeah, actually, that'd be a good one, to be honest.
Mhm.
I was thinking about that as a test too, but I just wanted to try to like draw something because that's what it was designed for, you know.
Well, double
Yeah.
back is pretty good for that.
Double back you can draw, but your line can only be so long. That's all. But that'd be a good test for it to see if it's working properly. Yeah, Graphicom or Graphicom Part 2, if you can find that, because that actually was designed for two joysticks that you could do a full 256 by 192 drawing using the stock hardware. You didn't need any sort of high-res interface adapter like the CocoMax cartridge or high-res joystick interface or these other ones.
It wouldn't really be that difficult to write a basic program, like real quick and dirty.
Somebody
You know,
else did one though. Didn't Chet do one? Didn't you make one for the Cook 1 and 2? Image Master or something like that?
Image Master was for the Coco 3. I never did a graphics editor for the 2.
Oh, okay.
There must be a few basic ones in Rainbow. I would check the Rainbow. This
This is already going way down the road of ridiculousness. I was looking for a simple answer to use this program to try it, and it sounds like there really isn't one.
Stevie, DeskMate. It's on the STC. Just use
Okay, I'll
DeskMate.
try DeskMate.
It has a little paint program in it. So, and if
Okay.
Graphicom's on there, that'd be the other one.
And Stevie, you're gonna get that splash screen that says OS 9 boot, and you're gonna love it.
Hey.
Now Dave Phillipson saying something about PS2 to serial adapter that he's working on. So people have the option to use the RS232 pack. I would just somebody to combine all this into one solution, so I can attach my 2-button deluxe mouse. I can use a PS2 mouse. I can switch to Tandy high-res joystick. I can switch to colorware adapter. I would just like one piece of
Uber?
hardware to. Yes,
It's the Uber input device.
that's right.
It must also have a real-time clock and sound chip.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Well, Ian Maverick also has a reproduction RS232 pack. And I know that once he gets around to it, Ed Snyder has ports on the Mega Mini MPI. He's got a wireless adapter that plugs into that port.
Yeah, those are 16550s if I remember correctly, right?
I
Yeah,
believe
David
that
says he got
is.
it. Didn't David say you got the USB connector or whatever? David left?
Actually, yeah, I think he did.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
was your question, Al?
It wasn't a question. That was that the Mega Mini MPI had two ports that you could plug in serial peripherals into, And I thought Ed was working on a Wi-Fi one, and you're right. He also had a USB port. He had worked on a USB adapter.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Right now, the thing that he has out is the dual USB to serial TTL adapter that plugs into the TTL serial ports that are on the side of the Mega Mini. Because I know
Explain
some
what that
people
means in
think-
English.
Well, a lot of people think that when they see serial that they're thinking RS-232. This is TTL that's on the Mega Mini, not RS-232. If you was to plug a RS-232 straight into it, you'd blow the Mega Mini.
Yeah, and TTL is what's going to be on the Coco 2 Plus also, because he didn't bother, couldn't replace the salt chip, so he's just doing a 3-pin TTL serial port.
Is that what the Bitbanger is?
RS-232.
The Bitbanger is RS-232?
Yes.
Hmm?
It's bit banged RS-232.
Bit banged and not bite banged?
I'm going to go help my brother. I'll be back.
Thanks,
There are
Stevie.
adapters you can buy that will convert TTL or a serial to RS-232.
I'm not a hardware guy, so what's the main difference? Is it voltages or something between TTL and RS-232?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not a hardware guy either, but I've read a lot about them on different computers over the years, and they sell like who's that guy? There's a guy, I have his link in my browser, who cloned a bunch of systems, and he has these small single board computers, and one of them is a 6809 that uses a cut down Coco extended color basic, and that you have to use a TTL to RS-232 adapter so you can send software to it.
Okay, so you can't adapt the ports that he's done on the Mega Mini to just a regular RS-232. You just need to add a little voltage adapter or something to it.
When I asked him about the Coco 2 Plus, about why he didn't implement the Bitbanger port, he said he couldn't get a salt chip replacement. They don't make the salt anymore, and it would take too much board space to recreate the salt in discrete logic. So he just implemented an easy TTL serial port.
And it looks like Mandelio 428 says, well, now I know why Coco Max 3 won't work right in VCC, and that is correct. VCC doesn't support any of those add-ons, high res or otherwise.
Yeah, I believe MAME covers the original Coco Max one, if I remember. And Dave Phillipson saying TTL 0 volts and 5 volts. And Matchy said UART. So is it RS-232 UART? Like I said, I'm not a hardware guy.
If it's real RS-232, I think that is what UART is part of that deal.
Okay.
Universal asynchronous receiver transmitter.
Yeah.
Now, RS-232, if you look at it, is the as long as you comply, for the voltages, which is anywhere for positive 25 volts to a negative 25 volts, and you can stay within the 230K at 30 volts peak to peak. That's as long as you conform to the 5, 6, 7, or 8 bits of data, and of course the 1 or 2 stop bits, you're within the RS-232 standards. But TTL is a 0 to usually 5 volt, 3.3 volt, or on the really low voltage devices, 1.8 volts.
So it's the voltage range that's the main difference between the two.
Right. RS-232 is a plus and negative voltage.
This is just like from 0 to 5. So it's all
Or
positive.
TTL is, what all of your internal computer stuff runs on, 0 or VCC, which is of the computer's primary voltage range. So 0, your VCC, like 5 volts, or 3.3 if you're using.
But they're all positive.
Right. And that's the TTL logic, transistor logic. So, but RS-232 is different. That's why a lot of people think, well, USB is serial. Why can't I just plug my modem into that? And then they fry their computer's USB port. That's why.
Okay.
Just because it says serial doesn't mean it's RS-232.
True.
Yeah,
true.
Dave-
What I was just reading here is true RS-232. Okay, is ideally between minus 12 volts up to as much as plus 12 volts. So that's why if you plug an RS-232 device into a TTL input, that's the reason why it generally burns it out.
Higher
Yeah,
voltage.
David Phillipson saying a high in TTL is 5 volts, a high in RS-232 is between -3 to -15 volts. A low in TTL is 0 volts, a low in RS-232 is +3 to +15 volts. So
Yeah, that's
quite a bit of a difference.
Yep, that would fit within that window. Yep, absolutely.
So you would definitely need an adapter then to hook it up to any of the.
So it's just basically a voltage.
Yeah, that's
Converter.
usually why for people that did the old modem pack conversions, to use those as an RS-232 pack, you usually saw the Max 232 chip listed in there because that's a TTL to RS-232 level converter chip. So
Okay, so it's actually not that expensive a solution to add the chip that would do the conversion then.
no, it's
A common part, basically.
yeah, for things like that only have a transmit and receive and maybe CTS and RTS, 4 lines, the Max 232 chip will handle that. And that's like 50 cents. But if you want all the flow control lines that the 16550 can handle, that is a little bit different because you have, well, your 3 output lines and the other 5 inputs, because you got a ring, you got your data terminal ready, you got, that's why there's total of 8 lines. So yeah, 3
CSR,
out
DTR, and
yeah, so there's 3 out, 5 in, and of course your ground. That's why DE9 connectors are the minimum that you have to have for full RS-232. And here we are on Serial Talk After
Yeah.
Dark.
Anybody was having a hard time sleeping tonight, that should have helped.
yeah, I can hear Chet snoring already, which is amazing because he's muted.
Now you're making me. If we're having Serial Talk, can we talk about Captain Crunch next?
Yeah.
You know, it's
Best cereal
interesting, though.
ever. Yeah.
What's interesting though is the fact that Stevie is still here.
Yeah,
didn't rage
I
quit,
had
yes.
seriously considered rage quitting many times already, but I figured,
Oh,
it's been a while
Yeah,
since
well-
we had an After Dark. Let's
It's a little more fun when we're
Celebrate.
actually having a conversation. So, it takes a little bit to
Yeah.
get going.
Well,
yeah, I agree.
usually I stay quiet because usually most of the stuff that's being conversed, I, have very little input to give back. But when it's something that I use commonly, like the floppy drives, the serial ports, the Wi-Fi modules.
Well, your happy,
Where's the
happy
rage
trigger
quit?
points.
Where's the rage quit button?
Bye, CV.
David's still talking.
So like the snooze alarm, it's like, oh, wake me up when he's done. Click.
We've got some more comments in the chat. Matchy is saying he uses a Coco driver to PC 9-pin Arduino on the PC USB. I'm not sure I'm following that. And Dave Phillips is going over UART. Yes, the definition. The bitbanger port is simply a software UART that uses RS-232 levels. The Mega Mini has hardware UARTs.
And they're using TTL levels.
Mm-hmm.
So we all learned something tonight.
Yeah. Talking about
There's
serial
gonna be a
stuff is
pop
boring
quiz.
as hell.
There's gonna be a pop quiz tomorrow. So
All serial port programming for OS 9 is for Curtis to do.
Most of it's been done before. I think from what I understand from Bill and David and a few others, I think some of it's broke now, but hopefully we can fix that all back up to normal again.
Yeah, the hardware support these days is pretty easy. It's just the software support.
Yeah,
Getting
but
all
ours
the
do their 2
patches.
stuff, mouse drivers, 16550 drivers. That's all been done back in the 90s and the 80s. I mean, it's been finished. So if it's not working, somebody broke something. So it's just a matter of figuring out what and fixing it.
Yeah,
That stuff,
and we
the
have,
work's been done.
and folks like Dave Phillipson can probably help if there's any tweaking to be done. And Matchy's trying to explain this to me. Software on the PC.
I think basically what he's trying to do is get the serial to go through the Arduino and then convert it to USB to get back and forth to the PC. He's using the Arduino as an interpreter, more or less, as a serial interpreter to USB.
To and from the
I
Coco
think is what he's
via
trying to
the
do.
Arduino.
That's what I was thinking that he was trying to do too, because
Yeah.
that would be the thing to do.
Oh, you could absolutely do that with an Arduino, yeah.
Yeah.
Then we can get all those head-to-head games working.
Yeah, but Curtis, you might burn your hair again.
Oh, no, I'm not soldering anything. I'll write the software. I gave up on hardware long ago. That's why I still have hair.
See, and coming soon from Retro Innovations is that dual serial port cartridge.
Well, first of all, nothing comes soon from Retro Innovations.
Somebody was talking about patching.
Except Snark.
Somebody was talking about patching P51 Mustang for network as opposed to modem. Which would be kind of cool.
Geez. What would be
I think
nice
that was
is
Chet.
if someone would patch it, so that way it would use the because for those people that are using HTTP DOS for DriveWire, there's 2 hooks that are at a couple addresses that you can use that gives you access to the DriveWire routine, so you could just easily do the terminal stuff. So
You're talking about going through the PC's serial port center or our USB ports, whatever, right?
no, HTTP DOS. Well,
if you're going through DriveWire, you're not really using the RS-232
Well-
for anything except for talking between the PC and the Coco, right?
I would say if you're going to patch it to access the RS-232 port like it normally does, and just add a menu to connect to a server so you can battle other people.
well, you could do that.
Just, I mean,
Yeah.
it'll just pick a random person, but you want to connect to.
Yeah.
I mean, and it doesn't take a whole lot to change the I/O routines to do that.
Sure. I'll be right back.
See, that would be interesting. Instead of needing a whole big PC, is to have it connect to like a Pi Zero, because all you need is something to bridge the connection in with an Ethernet adapter.
Just get dial-up, man. Get a modem.
I don't know who makes modems these days. I don't even know if I still have any except for ISA
Oh,
PC
there's
card
plenty.
modems.
Oh yeah, there's plenty out there.
You can probably get them on Amazon.
Yeah, I might still have my 57.6 around here somewhere.
I have my 300 baud modem 1.
Well, I don't know that you need a real modem if you can make Alan Huffman's Wi-Fi adapter that. Right.
Yeah, the
just
one that
connects
simulates the Hayes command set, so you can actually dial up
Yeah,
web
and you've got
addresses.
the Guru modem as well. So that's what I use. And
Or if
Alan-
Jim gets software drivers for his Coco NIC board, his actual true hardware networking board, then we can join in.
Yeah.
And we can make a text mode front end for something like, Unreal Tournament or something.
Mm-hmm.
And play against real PC users.
That's right.
I'm
And since
looking
we're
on
writing the
Amazon.
low-level code there, we can write in cheats so we can beat the living crap out of them.
Looking on Amazon, and they've got these USB dongles basically that are like for $17 that you plug a phone line into.
You can do a
They're-
top view Minecraft for Stevie, so you can play it on his Coco.
There you go.
Oh, it's amazing how
Well-
cheap they are. I remember
Well,
when I bought my first high-speed modem, I think I paid 100 and some odd bucks for it.
My JCat 300 baud, which is the first auto answer modem I bought, was $167 on sale.
And that was for how much? How fast?
300 baud.
Oh, geez.
Back
I
in
remember when
80,
the
82 or 83, I got that.
When the US Robotics 9600 first came out, those big giant black Darth Vader things. Those things were wicked expensive too, aren't they?
Those
Yeah,
are
the
like
Haze
eight,
was especially where I
900 bucks.
you waited for a US Robotics or even an Avatex or some other cheaper clones so you could afford it. I remember
Yeah,
the
that-
first Haze 300 smart modem was 500 US, if I remember correctly, or 600, something like that.
Yeah.
Not cheap.
Mhm.
But yeah, if somebody can write the network drivers for Jim's board where you can actually are using packets where you're basically reading like sectors at a time versus bytes at a time, you could do some pretty wicked gaming with that. But yeah, if somebody wants to disassemble P51 and then put in hooks for the RS-232 pack or 16550 or chips so you can actually smooth it out a bit, maybe even increase the gameplay so it actually does updates more often to keep things better in sync. Because I think the original one maxed out at 1200 baud or something because it was just Bitbanger, if I remember.
Actually, it was, I think it only required 300.
Yeah, it required 3, but I think it had the option of 12 for a little bit of smoother
Yeah.
gameplay. I think. I haven't tried it in so long.
Well, that's an interesting question about just the Bitbanger real quick. I noticed that most programs, when you try to use the Bitbanger terminal programs or whatever, they're only good up to about 1200 baud, except for something like Twilight Terminal that all of a sudden can go to 96. What is different about the software that allows one to work so much better than the other?
Really tight software timing loops, basically.
But is it more CPU intensive too at the same time?
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay, see, that's what I would assume. Okay.
Yeah, the 1200 baud limit actually was more the Coco 1 and 2. That was where they maxed out. A lot of the Coco 3 ones, like Ultima Term and Greggy Term and a bunch of others, did 2400 baud. Bitbanger just fine on the Coco 3. So most of them maxed at 24. And then Twilight Term, V Term, which is a commercial one by Tim Cancel, which did VT100 emulation too. And I think there's one other one that did 9600 baud on the Coco 3 later when they did the timing loops really tight.
There's a chip you can change on a Coco 1 that will give it a speed boost.
Yeah, it's one that increases it from 38.4 to 57.6 for DriveWire, right?
Yeah, I seem to remember that. Yeah.
This is how I screwed up my TDP 100. When I swapped out that chip, I did something wrong, and I have no serial port now at all. I have to take the board out of the case, take that shield off the bottom, and figure out what I did wrong. Luckily, I have one more bare F board I could use and swap out the F board that's in the TDP 100. But then I'd have to move my composite adapter over, which means resoldering the connections to the logic board, because there's a connection for the ground and the audio that I have to grab off the logic board for the composite adapter.
Right. Yep.
And I invited Brett in from the Discord channel. I could have, if I was doing this normally, daytime show, I could have added him from Discord, but he's installing Zoom, so Brett's going to join us on the panel here in a second.
Alrighty, that'll be cool.
I agree.
Yeah, he actually knows what he's talking about, so that'd be a nice.
Now, listen
Nice
here,
change.
Curtis. Wow, he actually knows what he's talking about. I'm
Hey,
saying,
out of all of us, who's successfully written a network game besides Brett?
Oh, Brett Gordon.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, right?
I forgot who you were talking about, Brett. I'm like, who's Brett? Okay.
Yeah, Brett. I just know him as Brett. I don't know his last name. He was at
Yeah,
Coco
Brett Gordon.
Fest. Yeah.
Yes. He's the Fuzix guy.
Yep.
Now,
Or the
didn't
artillery game.
the SubLogic FS1 work over serial ports to allow multiple Coco 3s to join together and fly together?
Which one?
Flight
Flight
Simulator 2 or 1. Sorry.
I don't think so. Not that I remember.
I seem to remember that the flight simulator would let you on the Coco 3 version of it would let you network Coco 3s together and fly together in the same world.
So that'd
Not
be
that
Flight
I
Sim
remember.
2 you were talking about, but I don't remember that.
I guess it would have to be FS2.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
FS1 was Greg Zumwalt's Coco 1 and 2, black and white one.
Yep.
No, the only one I know that actually did that was P51, but I can check. I actually have the manuals for it, so I can take a look a little bit later here.
Yeah, if you find that, Al, find something like that, post it in Discord somewhere. We can.
I stupidly sold my copy of FS2. I should have kept it.
Yeah, I had a copy as well. Everything got thrown away, but something that we will never throw away is the new guests on our panel. We've got Ron Delvaux somewhere out there. I don't know where he went, and
Hello.
Brett Gordon. Ron,
Hey,
you out
Brett.
there?
Yeah.
All right, Ron Delvaux is here, and Brett Gordon, special guest on CoCoTALK After Dark number 28. How you doing, Brett? That
He's
good,
so
huh?
bored he fell asleep. You're like we've only been on the call 15 seconds.
I'm off, guys. I've got to go lie down and sleep.
All right, Nick.
Night, sir.
Good eye.
All right, crikey.
Take care, Nick.
All right, see ya.
Okay, later. Nick.
That's it.
I scared somebody.
Me.
Yeah, Brett. If you can hear us, we can't hear you. Okay, Brett's gonna maybe log back in. So I know he's installing Zoom for the first time. So how you doing, Ron?
Pretty good. Long time no hear. Or
It's
see.
very dark in Arizona.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is very dark and good for creeping around.
Yeah, there you go. There's a little light.
I shall check.
I got
There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
Take this personally, Ron Delvaux, but I'm now going naked below the nose. I shaved my beard and mustache off today.
Well, you can do that.
I don't think we'll even recognize you now.
This is
Probably not.
what you would call a free country so far. Still possible.
Give it, I
time
don't
being.
know. Give it another 5-10 years. We
Yeah,
probably
really.
have whites left.
Well, I just figured I'd regrow it in for Thanksgiving, so I go get a haircut and have it trimmed nicely. So I
I'm coming for you, Ron. I'm coming.
All right, man. You can do it. Hang in there, bud. You got about the same weight I do. Well, you actually got a little more, maybe.
Yeah, that's what's kind of funny. We were I was discussing that earlier about the Santa Claus thing going on.
Yeah, it's happening.
Brian, the music man, is here. Everybody.
Hello, Brian.
When did you guys climb on this train? Hours ago? 15 minutes ago?
90 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
Brett is back.
Has he got audio working?
Who, me?
Brett Gordon. Just trying to get on. Hey, Brian.
Hey, how it goes? Hey,
Good.
with success. I'm now copying Tony Pedraza's Ribs BBS system hard drive to a disk image. Success.
Nice.
Did he have a lot of downloads on there too, or just the rib system itself?
It's like 123 megs worth of information on the SCSI drive. It's a 340 meg hard drive.
Oh, cool. Maybe he's got some of the stuff that went missing.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff on this.
But are they mostly logs of being online?
No, it's a bunch of stuff. This exact drive I've got here was his secondary drive, his backup. It's like every day or every week he did a physical hard drive during the night of his current drive. So it's gone.
So there's actual software on there.
Oh yeah, it's a complete OS 9 Nitrous 09 system. And that, and with ribs and all sorts of fun stuff, including some club stuff that's been possibly lost and now found.
Neat.
Yeah.
Well, anything you find in there that's like programs or documentation or something like that that's not on the archive, make sure we get it up there too, so everybody can get access to it.
Well, it'll be a disk image, and I can email it to you.
Sure.
Yeah. Quick question. Underneath the SDC, the 128 meg disk image,
Mhm.
will it automatically auto grow if, like underneath DriveWire, where if it's try to put more on it than 128 meg, or does it just kind of say, "Oops, I'm full"?
I think it'll say it's full because the parameters of the drive have already been set to 128 meg max. There's no reason you couldn't make one bigger than that to begin with, as long as you make your cluster size more than one sector.
Gotcha. I'd have to double check that and all that, but
The reason we didn't do it on ease of use is because there are some utilities that break, and if somebody accidentally ran them, they could corrupt their disk. So that's why we're not doing that.
No, I understand. Is my audio coming through okay, or a little bit? Is it too hot, or is it a little muted?
It's a little soft, just a teeny bit.
Better.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's closer to everybody else, I think.
All right. Cool.
Brian, what time is it there?
11:22.
Oh, because it says 3:59 behind you.
That's Zulu time.
Oh.
Okay, my question
that's
is, why do you have
tomorrow's
Zulu time?
Do you see all the radios behind me? Amateur radio.
Hey, he's a him now. Come on. You
So you only talk to people from Zulu, or what are you talking about?
There you go.
Zulu time is just Zulu is just a just a term meaning
That's the time
Greenwich
in the time in England.
Yeah, it's UTC.
So
it's 0, right?
So Greenwich
Yeah,
Mean Time
exactly.
type of thing?
Mhm.
Yep.
Then why didn't you just call it Greenwich instead of Zulu?
Yeah, it's
Or
Zulu.
GMT?
Zulu is shorter to say than Greenwich.
Oh, okay. So you're lazy. I got it. No problem.
No, that is actual. I know you're trying to bait me in that, so I'm going to.
It's working. You're reacting, so go for it.
Exactly. I'm just clowning right back with you. So continue on.
I'm busy going through the FS2, the Flight Sim 2 manual, because Al thought he remembered it actually supported multiple players at once over modems, and I don't think it does. I'm just going through the manual.
That was P51
only, wasn't it? I don't think any of the other Flight Sims did that.
I don't. I think that the latest one did not.
So I've gone through the Coco specific notes, which is just a second page they added in, and it talks about how to load scenery discs and stuff like that. There's nothing about multiplayer, so I'm just going through the main manual right now.
Do they ever show a plane going by now and then?
In Flight Sim 2?
Yeah.
Or in P51?
No, Flight Sim 2.
I don't know if the main flight simulator does, but the World War fighting sub game of it does. Because you got to shoot them down.
I don't know about that sub game. Is that in the original?
Yep.
Yes.
That's built into FS2.
I'm
War
not
game, I think
familiar
it's
with
called.
that. I'm not familiar with that either.
Hey, Brett, you out there?
Yeah. Hello.
Ah,
Hello,
there we
world.
are. There we
There
are.
we go.
Live on CoCoTALK After Dark. Brett, Gordon.
I figured out the app.
The only Coco person to write a successful internet-based game on the Coco that has sold multiplayers.
Yeah, that was actually really fun to play with 3 players. It was only for like 10 seconds before everything broke and people had to leave, commitments and all this other stuff.
So how did you do that? Did you write like a low-level network driver, or did you do that all through serial converted through DriveWire or something? How did you do that?
It was DriveWire 4 using the TTY devices. And it would
Okay,
connect
so the
to-
PC was handling all the internet side of things and just translating to the Coco? Is
Correct.
that-
Correct. Yeah, it was
okay.
just plain DriveWire 4. Basically. And it would connect to a IRC network and trade information along other people joining the same channel. It just wasn't a normal chat room. It was just all like hex codes and stuff flying in and out.
I've seen some of the really tech-oriented chat rooms. That's actually not far off from being normal there. But
Oh, cool. Okay.
no, here's my hex dump of my Altair.
Hey, Brett, is there an update to Plato turn for Coco 3?
There is nothing really in the works right now. I think the RS-232 driver is working pretty good. Pretty happy with that. I mean, the next step would be to like go to Coco 3 graphics and do up a nice graphics driver for that. But that's a big, chunk that I need to kind of put on the back burner for right now.
Yeah, because then you got to worry about MMU mapping and all kinds of crap. So
Yeah, and it's also all the fiddly work of drawing lines and.
Well, maybe it'll be better with the Gimme X.
that'd be more complicated with the Gimme X. Now you're dealing with your screens that are bigger than your actual CPU accessible RAM.
What's on the front burner, Brett? Is it like Fusic stuff, or
or is it real life?
It's real life right now, but I'm also working on trying to get the RS-232 pack. I'm trying to do everything I can think of doing with the RS-232 pack because right now I'm borrowing one. So if I can write drivers and stuff like that, it's just I haven't gotten around to that because of real life.
No, I forget. I think I asked you this, but in the chat, but did you say I could someday run Fusics in an OS 9 window? Like, can I run it like an application?
That should be relatively possible. Yeah, I mean, I won't. It will take a little bit of work and thought, but yeah, that. And the opposite's true too, or the converse, or something like that, where you could run OS 9 inside of Fusics, possibly.
Yeah, it's like we run CPM under OS 9 right now.
Right.
So has anybody done 3 layers?
3-layer graphics?
No, 3. RS running OS 9, running Fusics.
No, you can run RSB in a window, Radio Shack Basic, and you can run Fusics, and you can run CPM. There you got 3 operating systems.
Not 3
right
levels
there.
deep though. You're not running an OS in an OS in an OS. You're running an OS and an OS, but that's as far as it goes. And it gets pretty slow even doing that. So
might as well throw Flex in there too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that only takes 64K. That'd be easy to do. We'll write a Flex emulator for CPM and then run the CPM emulator under OS 9 level 2.
There you go.
So
and then watch it take 3 minutes to run a Hello World program.
So
it's probably more than that.
You walk away to the bathroom and you come back and you go, "What am I seeing?"
Nothing. The letter H from Hello World came on.
I have a funny story about going way too far, programming wise.
Do it.
So, Coco 2, I was developing a fourth for Coco 2, and I wanted to come up with like what's, me being very lazy, what's the least amount of assembler I can possibly put into a fourth system and actually have it full-fledged. And it turns out you can like write maybe 6 or 7 routines. You really want about 9, but you don't really need 9. You just need about 6 or 7, I think. So I wrote this very, very theoretical fourth that ran on the Coco 2 that only used 6 different basic stack operations, or adding and swapping and all this stuff that fourth likes. And I built an entire fourth from it. Booted it up, and it went through the assembler. I debugged it all. It's going. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and nothing's happening. I mean, it's literally just standing still. I can't figure out what's going on. So, days and days later of debugging, I'm flabbergasted. I walk away from it, go grab a beer or make a pizza or something like that, right? I come back about 20 minutes later. there's my prompt.
Oh, gee.
There's
So it was
so
just
much
chewing on it?
abstraction. Yeah, it was just, I didn't realize like the difference between most fourths have like about 30 primitive words defined. But the difference between 30, it's really fascinating that you can make, this whole system out of 4 simple mathematical and logical operators. And it worked. It worked. The whole thing worked great. But it literally took an hour to compile one little 32 column line of fourth code. But it worked. The whole scheme worked, but it was so ridiculous. It was just a great example of how you can go too far. But I did really learn a lot. I suffered.
Suffered for your art.
I suffered for no reason, not realizing how slow 6 primitives would work. But
Rob Inman, if you've got Flight Simulator 2 booted up, hit F1 to get into the editor, which lets you set some variables. And there's a variable called Europe 1917. If you change that to a 1, and that enables the World War I battle simulator, which has its own map and a river and runways and enemy bases and stuff.
Am I going to get some speed improvements from ease of use on this game? Because
Nitrous 9 in general will give you about a little bit of a speed improvement. Bill and I are working on trying to redo our lost 6 through 9 optimizations, so we may be able to speed it up a bit more.
Oh, you had previously done some speed ups for FS2?
Yeah.
Very good.
6 through 9 native only, because back in that time period, Nitrous 9 was only 6 through 9. And I've looked at the code from what I remember from back then. The code, the guys that did the 6.809 version knew the chip pretty well. There's not, except for maybe some direct page stuff, I don't think there's a hell of a lot we could do to speed it up on the 6.809. But 6.09 definitely, there's the way it does it, it draws a bunch of stuff off the screen and then block copies it onto the screen. I think the top half and the bottom half 8K chunks, and it uses stack blasting right now. But if you put a TFM in there, it's quite a bit faster. So
yeah,
you can probably gain a frame or 2 per second just with that alone.
When I bought it as a new game, it was fast enough. It's just playing it now. After playing modern flight simulators can be a little painful going backwards.
Yeah, if I remember, the World War I simulator actually is a bit faster because the world's a lot smaller, so it doesn't have to do as many far out calculations to figure out what you can see. So if I remember, I'm going by memory there, I'm not sure, but I think it's a little bit faster.
Yeah, I do plan on dipping back into Flight Simulator 2 because I use modern flight simulators like I explained. I think it'd be fun to, and I learned a little bit about flight. It's obviously not a 3D cockpit, and you can't kind of get that level of experience, but you do learn about how to read charts and things like that. And I thought it'd be cool to take an X-plane flight from wherever, say Phoenix to San Diego, and then duplicate the same flight in Flight Simulator 2 for the Color Computer 3. Kind of, give people, it certainly gives an impression of how far we've come in terms of flight simulators, but I thought that would be a fun exercise.
Yeah, and we do have the Flight Simulator 2 scenery discs. There's some of them in the archive already, like there's Japan, and I can remember there's about 5 or 6 released. I remember that actually worked on the CoCo. So
yeah, I'm kind of upset about that, although it saved me money. But because Radio Shack never advertised that, I don't believe. Certainly didn't have it in the store.
Yeah, no, if you asked for their express order catalog, which you had to know have existed before you could ask for it, then it actually listed it in there.
Yeah, I was a pretty quiet kid, so I was pretty terrified once I got up to the counter. I just wanted to pay and leave. So I think I ordered one thing ever from the what do you call the special order?
Yeah,
it was something OS9 related. Yeah,
because they sold like DistOS Super Controller 2s and stuff in there. They sold hardware and software from third parties, and I wish they'd put some of that stuff on the shelves to show people what you could really do.
Or even just listed it like in a location where you didn't have to go up and ask about it.
Just put it in the regular catalog. Have even if it's just text with a bunch of stuff. Just to let you know it exists, because they were selling the VIP desktop and they were selling Telewriter 64 and.
I did actually buy my copy of Telewriter 64, physical copy. It was at Radio Shack on cassette.
You had to order it in, though, right?
No, I believe it was there.
Okay,
I'm
that never
almost
happened up here.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that it was there. Now I could be, misremembering that, but I don't remember doing any special order except for something for OS9 that was not available and I needed. I can't remember, but I don't remember special ordering Accelerator 64. Now I could. I'm almost positive I got it at a Radio Shack store. Now I could have perhaps mail ordered it, but I rarely did anything like that.
And
So
now I
I'd have to
finished
get
going
my-
through the manual. There's no mention of multiplayer on Flight Sim 2, unfortunately. So I think P51's the only one we had.
Yeah, I think some other versions like Amiga or something may have had that, but we did.
Maybe I'm thinking of the Amiga and the Atari ST versions.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, Amiga and Atari ST had a lot of a lot of games were modem capable.
Well, they
Yeah,
have the
'cause
hardware
I've had
support
so
too. I mean,
many-
they're
I've had
Yeah,
so
they're
many
real.
different computers over the years. I sometimes blur them together.
yeah, that's understandable.
Well, it's important, if you think of something to mention it, because then we can check and verify it. Because I mean, we're all so long ago, couldn't remember.
Now, for those of you that are into flight simulators, I don't know how many in the panel are. What was the best flight simulator do you guys think for the Coco 1 and 2? Because there was like P51, there was Flight Sim 1, there was Worlds of Flight. Was there an undisputed champion among those? I didn't get into that scene enough to really tell.
I like P51.
Now, is that because it was a good flight simulator or because it actually had a head-to-head player thing?
Yeah, because you can blow the shit up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't play.
So the fact it was a
any flight
game
simulator.
more
Yeah.
than a flight sim was your attraction to it. Okay.
Flight Sim 2 was my other go-to.
Yeah, that one I
That
actually
was-
did play the World War I part because it was a simpler thing to fly. There was a lot of stuff you didn't have to worry about.
Is Flight Sim 2 on Nitrous 9?
It will be.
Might even be on EOU now. I just don't have it enabled because we don't have G Shell launches done, and I also want to optimize it a little bit back to where Bill and I had it. So, it
Okay,
runs
so
a bit
it's
better.
not runnable. But
It
I
is
think it
if
is
you
runnable.
open it. Yeah,
You have to do it
open an
manually from a VDG
VDG
window.
screen. Yeah,
Same as
it's there
Rescue and
because,
Fractalus, and yeah.
Carmen San Diego
Yeah,
and all.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. You might as well
Um,
wait for your beta 5 then, because then you will be able
yeah.
to just launch it.
Cool.
I can
That-
send you a short script and that'll just open it automatically for you, Ron, and you just put it into your
Yeah, if
startup
you're
file.
impatient and don't want to wait for me to get off,
I'll
get
wait.
back.
I got the discs and stuff. I can run it, but
Okay, you definitely will need the manual for that sucker.
yeah, I have the actual package.
Because one thing I do want to do on the beta 5, if I have time to do it, is not only have it running from G Shell as an auto launch thing, but I also want to include all the scenery discs that are
Well,
available.
that
we
would be
can-
great.
Yeah, I just downloaded the manuals from the archive.
Yeah, I just went through my actual physical manual here, and there's no mention of multiplayer, unfortunately.
Yeah, I gotta go, guys. So I will talk to you probably tomorrow on Discord. Guys, have a good one.
Night
Okay.
night.
Later, Dave.
Now here's something for you, Curtis.
Yep.
If we can get ribs going again and we get it running underneath, especially with VCC emulator with DriveWire, use a bunch of those TLL ports, we can have it hooked like maybe 8 sessions up at the same time. Running ribs, BBM.
Yeah. Actually, if you do it using DriveWire 4 like Brett did with his game, you should be able to get it theoretically to run actually from a real Coco 3 and put it on the net too.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that if we get set up like about 8 connections or more, if you run it through, using VCC and up the speed a little bit, then you can have all those connections running at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would be fun. Have that going for the fest next year.
Yeah,
So
I guess
what's
for
the-
me, because you're basically running the emulator to get around limitations of the Coco, then you might as well just run a native PC.
Yeah. I'm just saying that's one. Through the internet is what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
It could, because otherwise, if you think about it, you may be able to get 3, possibly 4 connections simultaneously through DriveWire. Then the Coco 3 starts really dogging down.
Yeah, that's why I'm hoping eventually if we can get either the Ethernet card that Jim's working on the Coco itself, so you can actually read, large packets in one shot versus a byte at a time, or we get a decent 16550 driver so you can actually take some of the CPU overhead off.
Or the super board's completed.
Yeah, if it is, it's been a long wait so far. So
I talked with Mark this year, and part of the issue is having hardware that's going to be sustainable, and that is actually the drivers are more readily available for all the things going into it. And he's finally got nailed down I think he went like 3 or 4 different packages that he was trying, and now this last package that he's been using, he actually got drivers for everything and everything working, including the sound and everything, and I guess internet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, if it actually comes out, that'd be
that's
a decent
shall we say
upgrade.
a little tweet that I heard from him directly that next year might be the year. That's about all I can say on that.
Yeah, I wish him all the luck on it because I was
Oh,
very
I
interested
know.
when he first announced it back when it was in the 1990s. I think the late 90s he first announced the first version of the Superboard.
It was like 95, 96, I think.
Yeah.
I remember when we were at went into the that one room where he was showing stuff off over at Elgin.
Yep.
How they end.
I was there too, yeah.
Yeah, you were. I think that was even after a couple years of him working on it.
Yeah.
So does anybody know what network stuff he's using?
It's changed a few times over the years. Maybe Brian knows what he's using now. I don't have a clue what he's using.
Yeah,
now.
Brian, did he say anything to you? Because I know he talked to me a lot about it, but I don't remember.
I can't remember what he said. My Sometimers is definitely kicked in full blast right now. But it was another different chipset that was more reliable. Because that was one of the things is that he was having is a reliable service with the hardware and that. So he got someplace with what he's got now, and it's going to be more sustainable because it's more modern hardware that's being used instead of hardware that's just out there.
Sorry, Brian. Who's he?
Mark Marlette.
Mark Marlette. Gotcha.
Yeah, Cloud9.
Thank you.
Cloud9, yes.
I did want to say hello to Tyler Wins Games. He's joined us from Twitch, I think. I think that's the logo. Dave Phillips. So we have a little breaking news since we're talking about networking. Dave Phillips is working on a project that's semi-secret, but not classified. And he's posted a pic in CoCoTALK lobby of his Wi-Fi board. I don't believe this has been talked about publicly before. I don't know if you could show that picture, Curtis, if it's handy. And I think Matthew's basically stating what you were saying with TCP packets sufficing for multiplayer gaming.
Now, is this going to be use all the TCP stacks and everything included in that hardware?
The what? This Dave Phillips and Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Dave, if you can give us the specs again, that would be helpful. And we can't hear you, Curtis.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I got the picture that Dave put up if you want me to put it on the stream.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could share.
Okay, switch over.
All right, Coco Wi-Fi. Revision
popped
A.
up on the screen.
Crazy.
Blurry.
Well, he said
Oh.
in the chat there, he said, this is a new board I'm working on that will be a cartridge with a Wi-Fi module. It's going to take a little time because there are multiple features on the board, which I'm not divulging at this time, that will need to be enabled, debugged, to have software written. I fuzzed out the extra parts on the board for now because I don't want to create an anticipation for them until I'm sure I can make them work.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you read that because Dave and I have been talking a little bit about this, and I don't want to give anything away.
It is secret if he's blurring out images.
Yeah. He's blowing out all the copyright notices of Jim Brains. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I think, that you could see the things that aren't blurred out, though. There's an ESP32 module.
Yeah. Yay.
And it appears not to be made out of cardboard.
It is a real board.
What kind of Kickstarter is it if it's not made out of cardboard?
Yeah.
Speaking of Dave Phillipson, I just got an email from him that he's moving the Coco FPGA group over to groups.io.
Oh, thank you for mentioning that, Al. I completely forgot about it. Yeah, Dave wanted us to make a mention of the move, and there's also going to be an opportunity to donate, see some of the hosting. Although Scott Went said he was fine with paying for the hosting for the first year. So I'm a little unclear on whether
but that
funds
was
are needed
before
or-
it was $100. That was before it was $220.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, according to the email, the $220 fee is a year of the pro membership that will allow the transfer of the user base and the files and the messages from the Yahoo group over to.
Yeah, because the MC10 group's having to move off Yahoo groups too, right?
Everyone that still wants to keep running and have files and access to the message archives will have to move over to another service of some kind. And I guess groups.io is taking advantage of this by having an automated feature to port over the data.
That's why you're okay. I was like, why would you pay $220? Isn't there's still got to be free services that can do news groups and
Yeah, after the first year,
files can be taken
revert
over by
back
an HTTP server somewhere. I mean, those are like $30 a year.
Hey, can't you get
after the first year, you can revert back to the free service on groups.io, but all of your things will remain from the first year.
One other thing I wanted to mention from the CoCo list, and I totally forgot about putting it in the news. There was a mention, somebody was asking about the MUL-D instruction that, for example, in VCC's broke because it's doing a unsigned multiply, and it's actually a signed multiplication on the 609. And of course, the div Q and div D don't work at all. And apparently, I think it's Walter Zambodi that's working on the OVCC project, has apparently internally got all that stuff fixed already.
Huh.
So hopefully there is a version of OVCC coming out that will have some of those fixes. And it's also cross-platform. Now, I don't know if all the plugins that Chet's been working on for some of this extra hardware will work. I don't know how that thing's set up, but just to give you a warning, Chet.
And it's pretty easy to change those around, so it's quite possible that it'll work. But my understanding was that some of that was already being implemented, but who knows?
What is OVCC?
It's sort of an open version of VCC that actually will run on Linux, Windows, and Mac, and is supposed to go through and fix a ton of bugs.
Okay.
There's some palette issues. There's some of the 609 emulations missing or wrong, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll only be wrong so long as I don't get it doesn't get in my way. Then I'll start fixing shit.
Are you going to include any more cartridges, such as like the speech systems, or?
I might. I've looked at doing the all of the the chip and ROM conversion and all that for it. It doesn't seem too difficult, but a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, I just take code from AIM and refactor a little bit so that it works. But with VCC, it's a pretty simple interface, so it does require a little bit more work. But there are some other cartridges that I've been looking at adding, like the CoCoMax cartridge for the that working, and
Cool.
so yeah, there are some other cartridges that I'd like to get on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've been talking for quite a while, a couple of hours. Have we beat this to death?
I'll take that as a yes.
Don't
I'll
we
take
always?
silence as.
Silence is snoozing.
Well, I can't scroll back in the chat, but I want to thank everybody in the chat. And Matt Chi was there, Dave Phillips, and of course, legendary programmer, and other people that were in the chat that I can't see. I can't scroll back to. Brian, the music man, thank you for joining. Ron Dalvo, I'm waving to you outside my window, and put on some pants, my friend. It's not time for bed yet.
Oh yeah.
Curtis Boyle was here. Tom Z, the man responsible for tonight's show.
Actually,
Tom C
before we
from-
hang up on the show here, I have a quick question for Brett if he's still around.
I am still around.
I just found, because I was trying to find the specs on Jim's Coco NIC, and it looks like you wrote an article for him back in 2016 on his NIC card.
I wrote a what?
An article on it?
No, I don't think I did.
It says Fusix, an NIC card from Jim Brain, posted September 2016 by you.
Huh?
Don't remember
On
this
his
at all?
website?
It's on Coco Boot. Let me share the screen, then you can see what I'm talking about.
Yes. Please
okay.
enter that into evidence, please.
Yeah, that was more of a breakdown of how Fusix is looking at things for his NIC card.
Okay, so you have or had the prototype?
I have a prototype.
Okay, does it look fairly easy to work with, or?
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy. There is a crap ton of options. The application data sheet thingy is like 4,000 pages. So
what page are you on now?
3 or 4 maybe. What I really did is I took the C65 code, the 6502 code, and learned what I really needed to bother with, because there's so many settings and features and options and things going on there. It's kind of crazy. But
this post says in about 10 minutes you got the card to return the product ID and got the link LED to blink. Doesn't sound too networky yet.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Yeah, that was just trying to figure out how it was actually working. Like just taking it one step at a time. And I wrote that in Forth, believe it or not, just because it was interactive and I could play with and poke with registers real easy then.
So how far did you get with it then? Did you actually get some like actual network communication stuff working, or?
Oh, that's what I'm doing. All the TCP and UDP and Ethernet stuff I blather around about. That's all either drive wire with its packet interface or Jim's NIC card. Doesn't really matter. It's whatever I'm.
Okay, so they're basically interchangeable. They're pretty.
Yeah. They both speak Ethernet. So the world speaks Ethernet, even Wi-Fi. So
it's fairly easy to program for doing like basic TCP/IP stuff.
Oh, yeah, super easy, super exactly what you'd expect. It's a little wacky because it's a chip designed for ISA 16-bit architecture, so it's like little endian, and there's some gotchas involved in that. But other than that, it's super easy to deal with. And
okay, well maybe we should start looking at getting an actual full driver for at least some bare stuff that we could use that for that kind of thing. Yeah. I didn't realize you'd already written some software for it until I saw this.
Look at my zombie project. Is just me goofing around with it, but it has a structure. I did it all in PCR just in case those Niners wanted to steal any of it.
Is that on that Coco Boot site too, or?
No. I'm actually going to be taking that Coco Boot site down eventually.
Oh, okay.
It's just fell into disuse, and I guess people still look at it. I guess I don't know.
Well, I just found it in Google. Like I said, I was looking for Coco NIC stuff. So.
Yeah, well, there's only 1 or 2 things that I go there for now, so I don't really bother with that anymore. But look on GitHub. Is where you're gonna find all my projects.
Okay, what's the address? GitHub.com.
GitHub, Beretta 42. BERETTA 42. You can look up zombie or look up.
Oh yeah, they were zombie. And this is both DriveWire and CoCoNick?
Correct. Yeah.
So where to
I haven't
find?
tested the CoCoNet in a while, but in the summer months, I'm not really anywhere near my Coco. So, but the weather is changing. So,
And is this mostly assembly or C, or what is it mostly?
it is all in assembly. The C code that you'll find in Zombie is some servers that I wrote to sit on real machines to do special things. Like load your Coco or other things. You know, I'm still dabbling. So.
Okay, so here you got Jim's cartridge control registers at FF80, and you got receive, transmit. Looks like the same address.
Yeah, it's pretty much, you know, like you ask it if there's a packet ready, and it tells you. If there's a packet ready, then you go and get it. You know, you go and it's just like working with a disk driver.
So do you actually get? Does it buffer multiple packets itself, or does it do one packet at a time, or how does it work?
It buffers.
Okay,
it buffers. Cool. It has, I forget what the card actually has now, but the chip is 32K or something, or 8K, or I don't really know. When you're doing TCP/IP stuff, it's not that important at the preliminary stages to be really worried about buffering, because all the protocols work on the premise that you can lose packets at any time. So
now, does it? How many of those protocols does it support natively itself? Like TCP, obviously, and IP. Does it support UDP and FTP and anything else, or no?
No, way lower.
It's just
it only
raw
does
Ethernet, basically,
Ethernet.
packets.
Yeah, Ethernet packets.
Okay.
And it basically works as like a tap interface. Like in Linux, we'd call those tap interfaces. That's all I did with William Estelle's server. Was I just he has like a little extension thing that he does with DriveWire that you can add your own extensions in. One of my own homemade extensions is a packet driver, which looks just like an Ethernet card. In fact, that's how I originally got the Ethernet on the Coco, was just using LW wire. Jim sent the card to me, and after me being bewildered by 4,000 pages of manual, I looked at his C64 NIC card, which is based on the same chip. And other than me trying to grok through the 6502 code, it was extraordinarily easy to work. There's only a few things you got to turn on. You have to give it a MAC address and tell the transmitter and receiver to turn on. And then pretty much you're home free. I mean, there's some other stuff you can do. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do, but no, nothing that's going to really accelerate anything by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay, so you still have to build TCP/IP packets yourself.
Oh,
and stuff. You're
yeah.
just
I'm actually in the process of building TCP as we speak.
And I can see you've got a bunch of exchange ABs here. So that's the little versus big endian. You're talking about you're doing 60 bits at a time.
Yeah, it must be. Yes, right. There's probably some other clever way of working it, but this was the easiest way that I could think of at the time. So it works, and it continues to work. So, but yeah, that's a nice card, and there's actually a little bit of potential with a card like that. I mean, besides for just me goofing around with it, you really could make like a network driver for the Coco. Because remember when I said it works just like a disk drive, basically?
Yeah.
Well, you could really just do an Ethernet protocol. It wouldn't be IP, but it would work on your local area network, your LAN, your Wi-Fi, whatever. Where you could just make a network disk driver, kind of like DriveWire, but it would go over Ethernet rather than serial port. And it works blisteringly fast. It's got to be just as fast as the Coco SDC or anything else. So,
yeah, because you're doing a whole sector size chunk as one shot.
Oh, it works at 20
or multiple ones
or whatever.
I can buffer the whole thing. So
or 10 megabits. Yeah, 10. The Ethernet itself is 10 megabits. There's a little bit overhead, but that's kind of drops in the bucket. I mean, Ethernet packets are extraordinarily simple. After that, it's up to you.
So you can custom make your own protocol.
Yeah, you can make like a NAS server that would run just as fast as the Coco SDC, or just as fast as a hard drive would. Probably
That's
faster.
cool because I know Jim's mentioned it a few times, and he's had the prototype boards at the show, but I didn't know actually somebody had actually started writing software for it already.
Yeah, I've had it for a few years now. Yeah, Physix works with it too. Not officially, it's a hack, but even Alan admits it's a cool hack. So he's letting it stay for the time being, and you know,
Yeah, we like cool hacks.
yeah. And yeah, it works. It can. I haven't tested the whole NAS server thing, but the idea is like you could even like plug it in your local network, with a NAS server. Now it wouldn't be a traditional NAS server because NAS servers are a little too complicated for the Coco to bother with. There's no actual solution to the problem. NAS servers use, like SCSI and/or way more protocol than the Coco is going to want to deal with. But you could also have like a Raspberry Pi or a Linux box, or someone wants to get creative and put it on Windows or Mac or something, or even Python. It wouldn't be very hard to write a server. And think about it, you could actually take your Coco 3 or Coco 2. It actually works fine on a Coco 2 also. You can literally just plug your like Coco NIC card with the Ethernet cable, like right into a Raspberry Pi. You don't even need a switch or official network or anything, and the Raspberry Pi would then become your NAS server. So it'd be sort of like a fat dongle for your Coco.
Yeah, because then you can do some fairly high speed, transmissions between Cocos even directly.
Yeah, and you got
to want to do head-to-head games like you've experimented with or P51 type thing, and instead of sending a byte at a time on a serial port or even slightly buffered on 16550, you can send like the equivalent of disk sectors or tracks of data across.
Yes, and probably even if there was a speed up with this particular card would be, Jim asked me in the beginning, he goes, what do you think about like opening up this card's memory as memory for the Coco? Then you could directly map packets into the Coco's memory. You won't have to do the byte for byte copy, and that would obviously speed up things really fast. But again, you're limited to just Ethernet. Like anything on top of that, you have to build yourself. So, which UDP isn't really that hard, guys. It's
yeah, there's not much to
it. It's just Ethernet.
Pretty stripped down protocol.
It's just abstract Ethernet. You're already doing Ethernet. It's just abstract Ethernet, that you can ship over.
And it lets you drop bits too. So we can finally get our first streaming radio on a Coco.
You probably could do streaming, yeah, because if I could probably do the podcast player could probably work over that, and it's and it doesn't require any timing, so you can kind of get the bits when you want. You don't, which would be nice to interleave with the streaming player or something like that. So there's a lot of possibilities, but you're stuck on the local network, or with my flaky software that can do a little bit of UDP or a lot of UDP and a little bit of TCP.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done on the software side, but there's a start which I didn't know existed. So that's cool.
See, in Physix, I had just taken other people's work. I took Adam Dunkel's micro IP, and just stuck it in there and stuck Alan's stuff on that. I was using all of other people's stuff. It was way less work. But if you are doing it on a bare machine like I am now, yeah, you're stuck right. It's a lot of logic and code.
Yeah, and we never did get the NFM manager for OSI Level 2, which I believe the gimmicks and some of the others did have, but I've never seen source for it.
Boise, I asked Boise about it at a Coco Fest a few years ago. And actually it might have been at Tandy Assembly. I think he was there the first year, I think.
Yeah, because NFM did come out for the Level 2, didn't it? Or am I mistaken? Or was that only OSK and higher?
No, the only thing he ever mentioned to me was OSK.
Okay. Because I know the Level 2 defs file mentions the NFM file manager, so I assumed like maybe the gimmicks or some of the higher end 6809 machines had it. I guess I could check through the old ads.
Yeah, I don't know. Boise said that, like as far as actual working, it never worked on a Coco yet.
Yeah. Well,
So
they had that.
all
Remember
he
they
said,
had
he
that
goes,
prototyped
I
Ethernet.
don't know much
or-
about OS9K, but he goes, what it did is, but he mapped out the whole file manager, how it all worked, like the MFM or whatever you call it. in the
NFM, yeah,
OS9K.
Network File Manager. I remember seeing
Um,
an OSK, but I remember also that Microware had that prototype card that Brother Jeremy used to bring to the shows. That was actually an internal Microware card for the Coco, an or Ethernet card of some sort. That had ROMs built onto it too that people were supposed to disassemble, which I don't think's ever happened.
Oh.
But I have to check the old gimmick sets because I thought the gimmicks did have. Or maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to check. It might have been maybe Token Ring or something. I don't remember.
Well, I would say if people were really smart, they would look at, hardware guys would look at probably like the WizNet series seems to be pretty nice. Unfortunately, it doesn't do Wi-Fi, so that's a little bit of a problem. And the ESP8266, I don't know if there's really solid software for that yet. It kind of, the original software by Expressive seems, really smacked of like not even laziness, like, bad, like that's you got to be a little careful when you're attaching your Coco to the internet. There's a little bit of responsibility there too, not to go, not to do anything to screw it all up.
Yeah.
The internet's obviously, stronger than one Coco, but you don't want to seize your own LAN up because your Coco's, broadcast, it's stuck in a loop broadcasting broadcasts, it's like, which I've never actually experienced, but it's one of those things where so you got to be a little careful what you're putting on there. And I think today we really
It'd be pretty cool if a Coco could do a DNS out. I think I'm just kidding.
I have a DNS client. And I'm going to have a DNS server pretty soon because I want to do the zero config Apple's system for network discovery, discovering other Cocos and computers and printers and stuff around you in your local network. And that's all based on DNS. So, and in order to basically say to the rest of the network, hello, I'm a Coco, you have to have a responder, which is basically a little mini DNS server that responds to DNS requests, just not the normal kind that the big, infrastructure, regular old-fashioned DNS uses. So DNS was designed to be really easy. You got to remember the internet was invented on machines that weren't much, they were maybe a little bit faster than the Coco, but as far as power goes, they were.
Yeah.
Most network cards were just like Cocos. So in the old days, I was told that the things that they used to hook up to the VAX machines and, to the PDPs were basically just Cocos, really, really bare machines, the network card, little CPU, 64K, 32K.
I'm going to drop off, guys. I gotta hit the hay.
All right. Thanks for dropping by, Brian.
Right.
Not a problem. So, have a good night, guys.
You
too. Have a good night.
All right.
Dave
I forgot
Phillips has a few. Go ahead.
I forgot this is a recorded thing, right? So I might be hogging a little bit. So please forgive.
No,
no, we invited you on to Hog. That's why you're here. Because you're one of the few people who knows what he's talking about on some of this stuff. So the rest of us are just making it up as we go along.
I might be pulling it out of my where too.
I don't know. You got a web page that says you did stuff with it, so obviously it's true.
That's right. That's right. Well, I think we can wrap stuff up. No, Brett, you were absolutely an invited guest, and the theme was networking. So it was kind of a perfect segue from what we were talking about before you joined. So thank you for joining the panel.
Well, thank you for the invite.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I saw you hanging out in voice and knowing that pretty much all of us were over here. So I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity. to talk to us, and we had an opportunity to talk to you. Thank you to everyone who was on the panel: David Ladd and Brian the Music Man, and Ron Novo, L. Curtis Boyle, Al Hartman, and Tom C. from Joyzy, Chet Simpson, and our very special guest Brett Gordon tonight, who I believe has committed to finishing the Coco Net Ethernet project by next weekend. That's what I heard.
That's right.
That's right. Dave Phillipson and everybody else in the chat. Ben Drake has said it's 5 a.m. in the UK, and he's going to bed. And I'm expecting that a lot of us are going to be doing the same thing. It's still pretty early here on the West Coast. So I don't know about you, Ron, but I'm going to keep working on some ease of use icons and plug away a little bit longer. And we'll see everybody out there on Discord. Any last words before we hit the button?
Charlesville.
What was
All right.
that?
Charlesville.
Chowsville.
Chow.
Oh, I thought he said Dullsville.
No. Sleepsville soon.
All right. Well,
good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Good
all.
night.